everybody is. So Scott, whenever you think we're ready to launch the results, you go ahead. All right. We have nobody in the golf course. It's because of the rain. Yes. All right. And some of you are outside, which is great. And I know a few people went to an MVCDC location, of course, concerned about internet connectivity. And the other, I am curious about the other, it's the mystery location. All right. So now the special promotion, see if we can make this happen. And I think I'm gonna need Scott or Travis just to select someone who might want to be promoted and just come on the screen and say hello. This is so weird that I cannot hear anybody. John and Mark Anthony, I'm so happy that I can see you. Thanks for the smile, that helps.
Hey, Berta.
So do we have anybody who wants to be promoted? No? Let's see. Oh my goodness. No, we give that up. At some point, we'll have somebody promoted. All right. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, okay. Deep breath, deep breath.
A few people are saying they will now.
We have a master of ceremonies.
She gave up. People didn't respond quick enough.
That will be guiding us through the day and helping with the transitions as we move from the one speaker to the other. And he is the one and only internal
we're up to 504
MVCDC celebrity, Robert Youngerman. Let's give it out for Robert. I am so excited that he is, he will be facilitating, you know, the few hours that we're together. If you have not seen, he's a master YouTuber and Facebook poster celebrity. If you have not seen his material on Facebook, on Twitter, and maybe even YouTube, you're missing out, but we don't want you to miss out. So I'm gonna ask Travis to share just a little video clip of Robert in action, and that will help explain why we ask Robert to help us throughout the day. And I'm so glad that he accepted. Thank you so much, Robert, for being willing to be our MC. So Travis, can you share the little video clip of Robert in action? There we go.
See me on the couch, I'm staying home. See me in the chair, I'm staying home. See me lifting weight, I'm staying home. Anyway you see me, guaranteed I'm at home.
my headphones, they go silent, but you hear me now? Yes, okay.
Yes.
And I've lost my
Yes.
place on the, woo, my goodness. Okay, there we go. So yes, he'll help facilitate the agenda, and I'm sure he'll do much better than what I'm doing right now. Before we get started, and before I go on making a few remarks, I want to take a pause, and I want to just acknowledge and spend some time observing a moment of silence to acknowledge our friends, our family members that have left us, people that were loved ones, dear colleagues and MVCDC members that after have left, in some cases through some tragedy, way too early. In other cases, after struggling through some serious illness, we've been touched by all of them. They will stay forever in our memories, in our hearts. I would like to observe a moment of silence to remember them and to give some thoughts and prayers to their family and friends. So if you would join me with a moment of silence, would appreciate it. Thank you. It's been quite a year, and it's almost a year to the date that I joined MVCDC family. I still remember it was May 17th, a year ago, that we all gathered at the center, the big auditorium, and it was my first time in front of all of you as your new CEO. I was nervous. I was super excited. And, with wondering about the big change in my life. And here we go, a year later, and so much has happened. It's been a tremendous year, a challenging year with just incredible events, and definitely a historical year. When I think about everything that we've gone through together, yes, like, oh my gosh, we've had a tornado, we've had a mass shooting, we have gone through a class review, a focus area 1 review. We had a bus incident that kind of rocked our world and our transportation services, and now this, right now this pandemic. In this weird time, difficult time that we're going through. But as I think about everything that we've gone through together, it has brought us closer together as a team. It has showed the incredible talent that exists within our organization, and the strength that lies within all of us. So I look back at this challenging year and I say, yes, it's been a great year despite everything that we've gone through. I am honored to be part of the MVCDC family and to be one of your leaders, and incredibly proud of this great honor. 2020 or 2020 became the year of the sparkle, right? And we had a lot of fun with the sparkle, and the very beginning, we just ask ourselves, what are we going to do to keep the sparkle alive, to keep shining, and to keep bringing hope and encouragement, and being that bright light for each other and for our families. And little did we know that we would have, to keep the sparkle during such challenging times, but we did it, and we've continued to let the light shine on, and the sparkle continue to to bring some light and hope to everybody. I also remember at the very beginning, we asked ourselves the question about courage. And, we pondered if we as a team, as a group of individuals that are part of this organization, would have the courage to do the right thing, no matter how difficult the times might be. Of course, we didn't anticipate that they would be as challenging as they are. And boy, have we had the courage. You have all been tremendous. You have been brave and courageous despite this trying times and despite this challenging time. So hats off for everything that we have accomplished, and for your courage, determination, for your grit, and for your perseverance. I am extremely proud. We've done a lot, and just thinking about probably the most difficult time of the year, this last 8 weeks. Wow, it's been amazing. We've had food distributions, we've embraced technology, we've worked remotely, we've supported families through phone calls, through Zoom webinars, through Facebook posts. You've brought beautiful and exciting learning opportunities to our children, even though you couldn't do it face to face. So it's been beautiful to see. I am very proud of what we have accomplished. I wanted to see, as you reflect about the different things that we've done this last couple of months, or maybe this year, what are you most proud about? So let's try to do another poll. And there are some questions. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. Okay. I'm still trying to play with the audio, and I don't know if you can hear me now. I cannot hear anybody, but all right. So yes, the efforts to stay connected with families, our efforts to stay in touch with our families have been incredible and really remarkable. I'm very proud of what we have done there as well. Spark Space, our marketing company that we've been working with, put together this video that highlights some of our great efforts. So we're going to take a few minutes to share this video and see the smiles of beautiful children and parents that have been touched by what you have been doing to support them during this pandemic. So here we go. Yeah, so let's bring it on, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that beautiful? Seeing all those great examples of the wonderful things that we've been, that you have accomplished, that we've accomplished together, obviously. All right.
Berta, can you hear me now?
So Travis, you're sharing, we're going back to the PowerPoint presentation. All right. So something else I want to acknowledge and just highlight. Yes, this has been rough. This has been bumpy. This has been challenging. And you probably have seen this quote that says, "Rough seas make great sailors." And boy, do we have some great captains and some great sailors that have led us through this rough seas and uncharted water. So I want to say thank you to the leadership team again that came together. We have our Wednesday huddles, and you know, we try our best to figure out, you know, what to do next and where are we doing well and where do we need to do a little bit better. This mighty team really cares about all of you. They care about the mission, and they've been tremendous. So we're in good hands with this mighty team and this great group of sailors and captains. They're keeping the ship safe. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And So what does the future hold for us? We're all wondering, right? What's ahead for us? There's so many questions that we have, so many unanswered questions that we have, and the future looks can look scary just because the unknown. I have days that I'm more anxious and stressed than others. I would say that the big news about daycare opening May 31st certainly was a surprise. I didn't think that the announcement would happen and it would come as quickly as it did. But at the same time, it just kind of offers some reassurance. It's like, well, okay, now we know, and now we can plan, and we can enact and implement some of the plans and steps that we had been thinking about. So, as scary as the future may look, again, I hold on to a couple of things. I hold on to the past and what we have seen so far, especially from the Office of Head Start. And if the past is a predictor of future behavior, I think we are in good hands. So I'm going to skip this poll, and because we're running a little bit out of time. Oops. Again, here's what we know. We know that daycares are allowed to open on May 31st, which is a Sunday. I thought was kind of interesting. So as early as June 1st. We also know that we have been in good hands because the Office of Head Start has continued to provide funding to all of us during this pandemic. And because of that, there's been no loss of jobs, there's been no layoffs, there's been no furloughs. We have not had to worry about our paychecks, and we've been able to continue to support our childcare partners. So that is incredible. That is very different from other organizations and other industries. So I feel grateful and very fortunate that we have been in that position. And then on top of that, through the CARES Act, Head Start has made available some other additional incredible funding opportunities to do several things. A summer Head Start program to provide cost of living increases to all Head Start employees, to look at quality improvement funds, both ongoing and one time. So I hold on to that. We've been busy writing lots of grants that were all due today, May 15th. And if all those grants come through, our agency stands to receive an additional $3 million worth of funding. That is incredible. And there's lots that we can do and that we plan to do with this additional funding. You can see a list here of those things, the cost of living increase, we're going to increase our minimum hourly rate. So anyone within the organization that has an hourly rate that is less than $11 an hour will be increased to at least that amount. We are have put in place and plan to support our technology and our technology services because, if anything, the pandemic has brought to life that it is important and it's good to have that backup and that resource. A summer Head Start program, we have plans and we've submitted an application to stand up a summer Head Start program to support Head Start children that are transitioning to kindergarten. Our plan looks to provide services to close to 500 of the incoming kindergartners. We will do that in a safe way, in small groups, and abiding obviously by the health and safety standards that are in place to protect everybody, staff, children, and families. And then a lot of the funding will also help support mental health services. We are looking to implement a therapeutic intervention program, add 4 behavior intervention specialists that can help support children and teachers in the classrooms for those kids that need extra help. So lots around the area of mental health. So when I think about what the Office of Head Start has done for us, what lays ahead with this additional funding, what we have been able to accomplish as a group and as a team, I feel extremely blessed and fortunate and grateful. And I know that we will continue to make a difference in the lives of young children. We will continue to be difference makers, and MVCDC will be a strong and thriving organization into the future. And now I'm going to turn it over to Robert, and hopefully you can hear him. And thank you, Robert. You are on.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our very first and hopefully last agency-wide virtual in-service webinar. Now, as Bertha stated, my name is Robert, but what she did not tell you is that starting today, effective immediately, I took a new position within the agency. Now, I'm joining Day, Bertha, Scott, and Don as on the executive team as the new CMC, Chief Master of Ceremony. Nah, I'm just kidding. I could not fathom leaving my Medway team and my Clark County immediate family. So, Candy, Mel, Joyce, you're stuck with me. Well, hopefully, I mean, after today, I have a job. But it is an honor to be here with you today to serve as your MC for today's festivities. As Bertha stated, my name is Robert Youngerman, and I am a family support specialist at the Medway Center. And I've been with the agency for 4 years, 4 months, and 11 days. But who's counting? Because I tell you what, it's been a glorious 4.5 months. Now, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to Bertha, and I'm reflecting, I'm witnessing this day unfold, and I can't help but think that it wouldn't be possible without an awesome team, without the executive team, the panelists that put this together, and then everybody at home who tuned in to just witness this entire day unfold. It wouldn't be possible without an awesome team like yourselves. So as we know, teamwork has been one of the core values here at MVCDC. And for me, teamwork is probably the most important value. Why? Because I'll tell you, without teamwork, it would be impossible to place the blame on somebody else. And I can tell you, if I mess this up today, if I totally mess this up today, I'm blaming somebody. I can assure you that. Now, you at home know what I'm talking about. There's no I in team, but there is an M and an E, and that stands for me. Now, up next, we have two ladies who have been working diligently over the last several months. They have been an integral part in the branding committee. They have been working on the new agency logo, if you can see that behind me. And they have been looking at and revamping the values here at MVCDC. So without further ado, here is our HR coordinator, Donna Childs, and our very own Monica Caldwell. Take it away.
Last summer, a branding committee was formed and we worked through the fall. We set about to update and refresh MVCD's image and spark all of us to feel pride and renewed commitment to serving children and families and to being more visible in our communities. We have a new logo, and there are many other visual differences. It's exciting to see the lively and attractive images, and the work continues. We have been working on updating the agency's values, which we are sharing with you today. The values are trust, empowerment, compassion, building on excellence, community, and holistic. Let's start with trust. We all support a trusting environment by believing in those around us and consistently behaving in ways that prompts trust from others. And we do that by demonstrate your trustworthiness to others, communicate in a respectful manner, act in a consistent and transparent way, hold yourself accountable, keep your promises, For example, if I say I'm going to get something done by the end of the day, I'm going to get it done by the end of the day. Demonstrate trust in others. Value the input of your coworkers with active listening. Respect those doing the work, get out of the way, and trust they know their responsibilities. We trust our leaders and managers to create a workplace where we want to follow them, and respect our leaders and managers to do the right thing. Empowerment owns responsibility to initiate action while deliberately creating the space and opportunity for others to do the same. Take ownership to do your best, to learn and grow, help coworkers gain knowledge and skills, and trust and support them in decision making. We can do this by acknowledging and celebrating outstanding performances and encouraging initiative. We can also show this with constructive feedback with the intent to be beneficial. Empowerment creates a place for children where they can grow and explore. We can do this by learning new practices and provide input to enhance programs. Empowerment encourages others to use creativity, is willing to initiate discussions. Our leaders can show this by giving appropriate authority and autonomy, stand back and let teammates do their work, create opportunities to share knowledge, having an open, respectful conversations, recognizing career goals, and supporting us to plan for our growth. Compassion comes from a caring place of understanding and genuine desire to help others. Understand that each of us is coming from a different perspective. Show self-awareness and concern for others in giving information and responding. One way to do this is stopping to listen with what's being said without wondering what you're going to say next. Seeks the best in others. Understand and use emotional intelligence in daily interactions with children, families, coworkers, and community partners. Trust each other, treat each other with dignity and respect. Imagine how you would feel if someone did this for you. When we use compassion, we show our passion for the work we do at MVCDC. And now here's Monica. Stop.
Thank you, Donna. Many of you know me, but those who do not, I'm Moni in the middle. Where's she at in the middle? That's my version of our conscious discipline Brain Start Smart. Sorry, Diane and Caroline, but seriously, I am Monica Caldwell, and I am one of 2 executive secretaries in the admin office. I have a bachelor's degree in management with a minor in marketing and have over 25 years experience in this area. I will introduce the last 3 values that the Branding Committee worked on. Due to time constraints, I will only share a brief description of each value and how you will now see them applied throughout the agency. The first value, community, is defined as working with others toward desired results in order to positively impact children and families. Through the years, we have all demonstrated this value as we have shared our strengths and our talents or helped our clusters reach desired goals and objectives. The Branding Committee expanded this value to focus on strengthening outside partnerships and relationships that contribute to improving family and early childhood conditions. It is the committee's goal that all staff understand that we as individuals and as a collective play a very important role in advocating for the success of each child and family. The next value, building on excellence, is defined as operating with an open mind to continuously learn, seek, and apply new ways of achieving desired results. Through the years, we have always done our best and pursued high-quality programs. We have all used all kinds of data to improve or identify new agency programming. The Branding Committee expanded this value to promote the support of the ideas of others to include both verbal and nonverbal communication, whether you are face-to-face or virtually interacting like we're doing today. We have to challenge ourselves and encourage others to continuously grow and enhance our knowledge and skills by identifying strengths we need to build upon and weaknesses that we need to eliminate. How will you observe this improved value at MVCDC? We challenge each one of you to ask questions that will improve your knowledge and understanding of our systems and approaches, and to actively listen to each other. I myself learned a long time ago that if I'm trying to come up with a response at the same time someone is talking to me, I have missed some points that may have been very important. This brings me to our last value, which is holistic and is defined as understanding and embodying the belief that in order to optimize human development and comprehensive high-quality systems, we all need to work together in harmony. Yes, we have always focused on children and families and continuously embraced change. It is a goal of the Branding Committee that we now look at each child's and family situation or behavior from a systematic point of view, and that we also encourage all staff to take ownership and accountability of our own actions and our performance while acting in the best interest of the agency. Finally, we want each of you to know that regardless of your title or position, all of you are an integral part to the ongoing success of MVCDC. In summary, we have to think beyond what we have done in the past, whether here at MVCDC or elsewhere, and begin to embrace our differences, our successes, and collaboratively accept and implement all these new values that Donna and I have discussed today. I hope you have enjoyed our presentation. Continue to stay positive, stay healthy and sparkle, and shine in all that you do. Miss you all, and thank you so much. I am Moni in the middle, and I am out.
Thank you, Donna and Monica. What an awesome video. And you can just see the pride that they put in that branding committee. And that kind of leads us right into our next segment. This next segment is a video message put together by Jeff Cutler. Jeff is a video storyteller. It chronicles MVCDC representatives detailing the pride that they have in our agency. So I hope you enjoy. Here is the MVCDC Pride video.
We are strong as a Head Start community. We're strong as an organization. MVCDC has continued to thrive, has continued to do what we do best, continue to care for kids and families, and that will not change. That will be part of what we continue to do for many years to come.
We understand the critical situation we're in, and we want to keep our staffs intact because we know when this is over, we need to hit the ground running. We can't start over again from scratch. So if there's any message I want to give is that of security. I feel secure that we will be okay funding-wise to go forward once whatever the new normal is defined.
You want to learn something from every experience. And this certainly has been an experience. And, you know, if nothing else, we've certainly learned to connect with each other electronically and virtually, you know. And I think that was one of the things that we've aspired to over the last couple of years, but haven't quite gotten there. Well, sometimes you got to be pushed. And so this was our push.
We see a tremendous amount of autonomy, of ownership, of leadership that has developed because it absolutely has had to develop. And it's had to develop remotely. And so people are, and our staff are just, they're stepping up in these unbelievable ways and reaching out to our children and families and being compassionate and creative in the same breath and just getting the job done.
You know, I've become closer with my son. We were always close, but spending so much time with him, being able to understand a little bit more of his routine that he used to have during the day at Head Start has been great. Working with his teachers still remotely to get all the activities he needs. It's expanded my parenting skill set.
You know, through life, you have things that happen through life. You know, you either learn from them or you tend to repeat them. I think MVCDC will be the same way. Hopefully we'll come out of this a little wiser, a little stronger. It'll make us a little bit more prepared for, whatever comes next. Hopefully this will be the last time this ever happens, or anybody will have to go through this. But, hopefully we'll be a lot more prepared and, a little bit smarter.
We've had SARS, we've had the HIV epidemic. You've lived through epidemics before. You have been through some really hard stuff. How were you able to make it? And were you different when you were done? And if you were, how did you do it?
Our agency is all about that family rapport and building that relationship and continuing that relationship, I think. So they're allowing us to make those phone calls and have those conversations. And I'm getting great feedback just from my family.
Everybody just helps everybody, because even as adults, we all have those days where, I feel like I shouldn't have even got out of bed today. I just need to, go back to bed and start all over. When that happens, everybody around me just picks up and does what we need, just to keep the ball rolling, because it all comes down to the children and the families that we serve.
I think they've been very helpful to the parents and the children during the pandemic, as far as making sure they have food, toilet paper, cleaning supplies. Teachers are dropping activities off to the homes for the parents to give them something to do with the children. I think that has been very great.
They say it starts from the top and goes down. If we don't have that strong, caring, compassionate, trusting, top executive level things, what do we have? But when we see that there, we can't help, well, personally speaking, you can't help but say, I see what they're doing. I'm going to give my best and do what I can as well.
Well, I think this has really helped to reinforce why it is we do what we do. When we come back, when we're back in those centers, when the kids are back in the classrooms, I think that will maybe spur us even more, on our mission, to where we want to be doing this, because guess what? We saw how much they need us.
Things will go back to some kind of new normal. It's not going to be the same way it was before. It can't be. Just, we have to be able to roll with the punches and let it ride. And not hang on super tight to what was, because you have to accept what's going to be.
What I hope will happen more than anything is that we will connect, and we're connecting in a very different way, from our previous events where we're all together in the same space. So there isn't going to be that physical connection, but I hope that, through this virtual connection, we can feel, the power and the support of all of us coming together.
Because who knows when we'll be able to get together again. I put a date on things every week. I've missed like 10 different dates about when we're all going to be together. So my new one is June 1st.
I hope a year, 2 years from now, the group that's here now is here then. Continue to move forward and do what MVCDC does.
I'm so inspired by the champions that I see in our agency, and it's remarkable.
From a parent, I appreciate the work you guys have been doing during this pandemic. I thank you for the activities. I thank you for the calls and the FaceTimes to check on not just Amir, but myself. That's appreciated, and that goes a long way. And I want you guys to know it's not gone unnoticed. And that, at least speaking for my child, he misses you guys.
Thank you to the staff for hanging in there, for trusting us that things were going to be okay, and for all the incredible contributions that they have made during these challenging times. for their creativity, for their innovation. It's just an honor to be part of MVCDC. So thank you.
And the MVCDC Choice Award goes to your boy. No, all jokes aside, this is for every one of you sitting at home, everyone tuning in, and those that couldn't tune in. We are MVCDC strong. I can't tell you, wow, what an inspirational and encouraging video from our executive team, our board representative, you, the staff at home, and our policy council president you've seen on the video. These are definitely some unprecedented times, and I want to take this brief moment just to thank every one of you sitting at home for continuing to reach out to families, to keep the children and families engaged, and just to ensure that the family needs during this time are met to the best of our ability. I mean, thank you so much. It doesn't go unnoticed. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit. And boy, do we have a treat for you, a true performer. And with this next segment, please feel free to get up, to stretch, and most importantly, make sure you dance along. So if I can get some help welcoming Dixie's own education support supervisor up on screen, the screen that you're watching right now, here is Madonna Gales with her interpretation of the hit, My Girl. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Madonna Gales. I work for MVCDC, yay, and I sit at Dixie location. I just want to sing this song to uplift you, these words, okay? I've got sunshine on a cloudy day, and when it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. I guess you would say, what could make me feel this way? My joy, talking about my joy. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day, and when it's cold outside, I've got the month of May, yeah. I guess you would say, what could make me feel this way? My happiness, talking about my happiness, thank you.
Talking about my joy, oh, shoot. Whoa, we're back. Well, hello. Awesome performance, Madonna. Awesome performance. Well, let's keep it moving. Next up, we have a short video with a message from Mayor Warren Copeland. Mayor Copeland is from my hometown, Springfield, Ohio, and he is the current mayor. He's a professor of religion at Wittenberg University from my hometown, Springfield, Ohio, since 1998. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mayor Warren Copeland.
I'm here to recognize the value to the city of Springfield of what the Miami Valley Child Development Center does. I actually have an interesting connection to what they do because when I was in seminary, my wife discovered that they were starting something called Head Start in Indianapolis, Indiana. And she was one of the first teachers in what has become a big piece of what Miami Valley does. So we really believe in early childhood. She was a longtime kindergarten teacher, and I learned a lot from her about the value of working with young children. Obviously, and we've had a number of connections with specific children, and I've a number of times gone to Miami Valley to read to kids and to support what they were doing. So that brings us to the current situation in which that's much more difficult given the virus. And Miami Valley has flexed to deal with that. They are providing materials. They are serving meals. Always they were. Children who were in their program ate lunch at school. Now the school is providing food for them so they can eat at home. And providing materials that parents can use to work with their children at home. All of this is a critical program for trying to deal with this period of time when we are all at home and educational resources that our children usually have are not available to them, schools or Miami Valley's programs. So Miami Valley is doing everything it can to support their children, even though their children are not coming to school these days. So we in Springfield appreciate very much the contribution of the Miami Valley Children's Development Program and are really glad for what you do in Springfield and really appreciate your attempt to help during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Copeland. Up next, we're going to hear from a gentleman that everyone here at MVCDC knows. We're going to hear from John Kensel. John is an infant and early childhood mental health consultant. He is the former director of mental health for MVCDC and still considers himself a member of the MVCDC family. Among his areas of expertise are trauma and resilience. He wishes resilience for all who are young and for all who ever were young children. So the title of this segment is What It Takes. And at the end, I believe John is going to afford those an opportunity to get promoted. Now, this isn't a job promotion, but this is your time to shine. So for those willing and for those who are selected, will be afforded to come on the screen and ask their questions live. So help me in welcoming John Kensel.
Hello, can you see me? I am not, I turned my video on and I hope you can see and hear me.
We can, John.
Okay, great. I don't see anything but Hope Ciprilla on the screen right now. So I will trust, as Berta did, that you can see me. And I am so glad to be with you. After seeing that video and listening to Madonna, I'm lucky not to be crying right now. I am just filled with my love for you all. And I don't know really if I have anything to add to what's already been said. But I've been asked to come and speak with you today a little bit about resilience. And as we heard, I named that, Rob said, my talk is called What It Takes. So I'm just going to start by saying that I know that all of you have what it takes. I saw it in the video. I remember it from my relationships with all of you, and I continue to trust that's true. But we're going to talk about it a little bit because really, we're all in this together. We always have been, and we're in this particular moment together as well. Every one of us is suffering from what I'm calling CSD, COVID-19 stress disorder. Let's face it, we all are stressed out at a certain level. with whether it's because of actual things that have happened to us personally or just the general wearing down of our coping mechanisms, of our energy by this persistent anxiety, the persistent limitations on us. That's the flip side of resistance, of resilience, is that we need resilience because of the reality of the stress that we're carrying. So I just want to name that. It's there. We all have it. I have it. I have good days and bad days. I have days when I get a lot done and days I'm not sure I want to get out of bed. But I believe I have what it takes, and I know you have what it takes. And one place it starts with is with self-care. Travis, are you going to put up my PowerPoint for me?
I thought you were throwing that up, John.
Okay, I will do that. I'll do share screen.
Yep.
And go here and then do this.
There we go.
Yeah. Slideshow. And from, come on, slideshow. There we go. From beginning. There. Can you see it, everybody? Somebody say yes. All right. So what it takes. You are not just one flower in what feels like a desert right now, but really at MVCDC, there are many flowers blooming. And I just am so fortunate to be a part of this celebration of that fact. And as we're dealing with the stress and dealing with all the pieces that are a part of that, we know it starts with self-care. It's clear that there's a lot of caring about you by others at MVCDC, which includes me. And it's clear that you've been providing a lot of caregiving to others, your families, the children, each other. That's important too. And the third piece of that is caring for yourself. And you all have what it takes to do that as well. So, whoops, I went too fast, too far. So you knew I might do this, right? I mean, how could I give a talk without having us do some kind of brain smart start thing? And you all know how to be brain smart. You all know how to be a star. But I'm going to ask you right now to join me in intentionally being a star. And so I can't see you. So in this case, I'm going to have to trust that you are smiling. So I'm going to smile, and I trust that you're going to smile, and we're going to take these 3 deep breaths together just to take care of ourselves in this moment. And I'm not going to ask you to stand up because I know that all of you are at home, and you know, probably half of you are like me and aren't wearing pants. And Rob, I'm sure, isn't. And so I'm not going to ask you to stand up like I usually do. But please do this for me. Smile. Take a deep breath. Here we go. Let it out. And relax. And we'll do that again. Don't forget to smile. One more time. Here we go. Smiling. All right, there we go. Now we can move on. So what is resilience? Resilience is a lot of things. You can see to the right a slide that shows that there are a lot of different pieces of resilience. And we're going to talk about a couple of those real quick because I only have a certain amount of time and we're running late already. But you can see down in the left-hand corner there, hopefully, that resilience, a quick definition of it and an accurate one, is an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. Now, I question that easily piece. I'm just going to say to recover from or adjust to misfortunes or change. And that we're all doing that right now. And we're all showing resilience. This very Webinar is an example of that. It is an example of resilience. But there are pieces of resilience that we know are really important, and I'm just going to summarize them real quick. One is relationships. We know that for our children and for ourselves, having a ongoing, reassuring, nurturing, caring, loving relationship helps us to be more resilient. And you know where you find those in your own life. And you know that you've had to work hard to maintain some of those connections because of the difference that COVID-19 has made in our lives. It's important that we continue to make those connections like we're doing today. That capacity for attachment, for building those kinds of relationships is an internal capacity that we have. And so we want to manifest that by offering it to others, offering encouragement to others, seeking it out for ourselves. Helping stay in those relationships is important. Thirdly, the opportunity to act, the capacity to feel that we are in control of our own destiny, that we are not defined by the stress we're under, by this, we are not defined by this virus, we are not defined by the limitations that are on us, but we are defined by our capacity to cope, to manage, to plan, to act. And I've seen and heard today about so many ways that you all have been doing that. You've continued to create materials for your kids, to reach out to your families, to deliver supplies. Those are taking control. That sense of control, the ability to act on the world, is an important part of resilience. And the third one is a cousin to that. It's the capacity to work with others, to make plans, to solve problems, to complete tasks. And MVCDC is kind of the epitome of that. Excuse me. My sinuses are working with me, that other Miami Valley disease thing. So the pollen count is getting to me. Sorry about that. So those are the three basics. Let's get a little more detail here. So secure base, that's the connection. Social competencies, I alluded to that. Positive values. What do you believe? And in particular, what do you believe about yourself? Why are you in this business? And what of you is still being an example of that in terms of your identity? Why are you doing this work? Are you still doing the work the best you can? That's a part of your identity. Your talent and interests, Madonna's singing, Rob's craziness, whatever. Finding ways to continue to lift those up, put them into place. Friendships, we've talked about relationships, and the education. Continuing to learn, continuing to find new ways. Day is continuing to learn that she is not a very good prognosticator of the date of reopening. She just admitted to that. So it's nice to know that even Day is infallible. So, but anyway, so those are the key pieces, and let's move forward. So we're trying to do trauma-informed practice when we work with young children and with families. And when we do that, we support resilience in each other. So there are these four other components: self-awareness, attention to relationships, a set of beliefs, and live, laugh, and love, which I just saw on the wall of Rob's home around his clock. That was pretty cool, Rob. I'm glad you had that. Live, laugh, and love. So let's go into each one of those. And I just touched on this. Remember your person, your purpose. You person, remember your purpose. What is your vision for the future? We've just heard a repackaging of that from the branding team. So it should be very clear for you. And how do you fit into that? What are those new aspects resonate with you? How do you see yourself living into each of those pieces? What goals will that lead you to set for your work as you move forward? And when we remember our vision and our mission personally and as an agency, then we move forward with purpose, and that is a part of resilience. We want to be ready for whatever might come. You know, there was a comment, and I think it was from Travis, who, or someone, or maybe it was the maintenance guy. But anyway, the better preparedness. So that's just like we prepare the children for change by having routines. We have our icons and our picture schedules. We prepare them for what's going to happen. How do we prepare ourselves? How do we prepare each other? And we do that by maintaining connections, reestablishing new routines and rituals, which give all of us a sense of safety and predictability. We problem solve, and we engage with others in decision making, so we're not lone rangers out here. Some of you are old enough to remember what lone ranger means, but it means sort of not just on my own. We're all together. We try to avoid power struggles by interacting in relationships in a way that is mutual and that involves choice and involves respect for the other. And we also do that self-reflection piece, and so we know what our own triggers are, what sets us off, what pushes our buttons, so we can be prepared to take those deep breaths and get back in our prefrontal cortex whenever the situation is bringing us down. I've been doing a lot of deep breathing over this time. And of course, the Q-tip. You remember the Q-tip, right? Quit taking it personally. Enough said on that one. Okay. Relationships, we have to think about what can we control and what can we influence. There's a lot in Head Start that we cannot control. We cannot control the reality of who the other people are. We can't control their home life, what their situation is. We can't control what services they receive from other people. We can influence, maybe. We can't control how they see us. We can't control if someone gets upset with us. And we can't control how they respond to this stress. So rather than judging all those things or trying to control that, we work more on influencing. When we influence, we support resilience. We are welcoming. We offer all these layers of support that will help people be lifted up and support and survive, whether that's food or activities for their children, or whether it's contact with us directly, or whether it's advice. We offer support, which lifts them up and helps them then be able to better function and be resilient. What's our attitude when we do that? Are we communicating in a way that takes a one-down position and says, look, you know what's best for you. Help me understand what you need. Help me know you better, and not get into arguments and that sort of thing. And so you're listening and hearing them the best you can. And then what is the environment that you provide that is welcoming, and how can we look at the need as opposed to the behavior? All of you in conscious discipline know exactly what that means. We're looking at what is behind the behavior, not judging the behavior itself, whether that's a child or another adult. What's going on behind there? What's the need? What can I offer to help this person's state, whether that's an emotional state that we talk about in conscious discipline, or whether it's a physical state, but we are wanting to address that and look behind the behavior. So we have to take a look at what things that we believe too. For instance, I would hope that you might have a belief about trauma and this virus, that we are all changed but not damaged, that we have the opportunity to be just changed but not damaged. We all are going to be different after this. Life is going to be different in ways we don't know. With resilience, we move to a place of a new reality, but not a place of being a victim or being damaged. So this is something that we've talked about a long time in the children's disaster work that I've done, going in to support children and families after natural disasters, is that we know that we will be changed, but we want to not be damaged. So we think of ourselves as flexible, resilient, able to adapt. makes the difference. But we do know trauma is real and it has significant impact. So it's not denial, but when we survive, then we know that there's potential for persistence, which is a word, the grit that I heard Berta talk about, and then thrive with that support that we offer them. And we are best able to do that when we have that feeling of hope, which is a word I've heard many times today already. So how can we support, validate, create a sense of safety for ourselves, for the people we love, the people we serve? I'm just going to tell a little story here, but in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. So here's another piece about our beliefs. We don't want fear to drive the bus. We want our vision to drive the bus. So we want to make the decisions about what happens next and how we live today and what plans we make, not to be avoiding negative consequences, but rather to promote positive actions. What do we want to see happen? And then what can we do to make that happen? So let's keep the steering wheel in the hands of our hope and let that fear go to the back seat. So we want to see below the surface, right? This is about my fourth metaphor to share with you about that. But if we just look at the surface, we see what we think is a shark, and then we start getting anxious, right? But if we look under the water, there may be a goldfish under there. So we have to dig deep. And the way we get deeper is all the things I've talked about already, but it's also this living, laughing, loving that I'm talking about. So if someone is showing us extreme behavior, we have to recognize it in the context of survival. That behavior is there for a reason. We already talked about that. The more we repeat positive statements about ourselves, I can handle this, this is hard, I can do this, keep breathing, we're impacting our own brain growth. And when we offer those positive, nurturing, connecting experiences to others, we're wiring their brains for a resilient position. We're impacting their own brain growth, because someone as old as me, and I'm probably one of the oldest people on this webinar right now, you may find this hard to believe, but my brain can still grow too. So think about how hopeful that is for you. So what we want, healing trauma is another way of saying resilience, is to repeatedly help others to reduce their agitation, to calm their brainstem, connect with their midbrain, and help them get to that prefrontal cortex so that healing brain can take over. And we do that through play. All you folks that work directly with children know that, right? All you parents probably know that too. And hopefully all the rest of us know how important being playful is. And this presentation today has had a real playful quality all through it, which I really appreciated. So let's play together as we promote resilience. And of course, back to hope. We always end up with that. You see the Martin Luther King quote here down in the corner. Everything that is done in this world is done by hope. And by done, he means what is accomplished, what is positive, what is moving forward, what is good. It's done through hope. The human brain, as it says down there, is capable of healing in ways that we still don't understand. We do understand the kinds of things that can help it heal. And that's what I've been talking about today. So to receive grace, we must offer grace. So let's offer grace to one another. Let's say, oops, well, that was hard. Okay, messed up. Wonder what we can do to fix it. That free pass. Looking at the best in the people that and looking for, sometimes we have to look for it, in the people that we're working with, whether those are people in our family that we've been stuck in the same house with now for 2.5 months, or the people we work with. But once we find it, let the other people know we see it, and do that on a regular basis. And hopefully there's someone doing that for you too. You know all about descriptive praise. See, I'm not telling you anything new. I'm just reminding you of what you already know. Be authentic, look for the best in yourself and in others, and offer each other grace. When we put all of these things, we can build an umbrella that will protect ourselves and protect others and promote the resilience that we all know we have the potential for. I know that you all have what it takes. So we're at the point where I think I had one more slide. Actually, I'll just do it this way. Remember to live, laugh, and love. I wish you well. And this is the time where I can take some questions from anybody that wanted to be promoted to do so. So I will, Travis, should I end my share screen now, or what should I do?
Yeah,
you can end your share.
Okay.
But John, I wanted to tell you, I've been monitoring the Q&A, and I think you were so thorough and comforting to all of us that no one had any follow-up questions.
Wow.
So, I know, I'm surprised. So you are fine to say wish you well, and we can move on to Robert.
Well, this is one of the disadvantages of doing this where I can't see the participants.
Yes, true.
Because now I can see your face, Hope, which is very nice to see, by the way. And but I also, I can't see anybody else's, so I can't see that little arched brow, that little small frown, and say, "Did you have a question?"
Mm-hmm.
But I will trust that I was right, and that this was really reminding people about what they already know. And I've been watching the chats go by, and I see so many names that I recognize. I wish that I could see. I still have magical thinking, even at 70. And I wish that I could see all of you, hug all of you, laugh with all of you. But it is just good to be with all of you. And indeed, I wish you well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. And COVID-19 stress disorder. John, I wasn't sure there was going to be a DSM-6 coming out, but after this pandemic, that may just happen. And I can tell you, I think at the beginning of this, the stay-at-home orders and whatnot, I think I was experiencing some of that, hence the videos. I was in my own head, and I had to be resilient and overcome fairly quickly. And I think with the videos that I put out there, which some may have seen, has helped me do that. And the essence star, the smile. If I could just make somebody smile one time during the day, it just brings so much joy. So thank you, John, for that presentation. So, and I want to remind, if anybody has any questions that they would want Berta to answer live, please, I believe on the top or the side or the bottom, there's a Q&A. Ask those questions that Hope and Sharon's monitoring. That way Berta can come on live and answer a couple of questions that you may have. So please feel free to do that. So up next, we have another video. This video is from Mayor Nan Whaley. She was first elected to the Dayton City Commission in 2005 and was the youngest woman ever for a commission seat. Mayor Whaley is a national leader among her peers, serving as the second vice president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, as well as the chair of the International Committee for the conference. Mayor Whaley has been the mayor of Dayton since 2013. So everyone, here is Mayor Nan Whaley.
Hi, I'm Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley, and I'd like to acknowledge Miami Valley Child Development Centers on a great year of service to our community. Your work as the premier early child educator in our region has helped create bright futures for so many children throughout the Miami Valley. During these challenging times, I value your contribution to Dayton families more than ever. As we continue to fight the spread of COVID-19, I hope you all stay healthy. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Mayor Nick Whaley. Thank you. Up next, we have a serial entrepreneur. Oh, wait, huh? Oh, not that type of cereal. He's not a Fruity Pebbles, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Up next, we have a serial entrepreneur. He is the former director of the Community Initiative to Reduce Gun Violence and Community Police Council for the City of Dayton's Human Relations Council. He oversaw vital youth and family programs for this organization, one of which was the CAP, Youth Empowerment Center, a winner of 2 Best Practice Awards. He has served on various governing boards and advisory committees, including the Mentoring Collaborative of Montgomery County, Life Skills of Dayton, and the Miami Valley Child Development Center. He has been recognized as a top 10 African American Male Award and Mentoring Collaborative of Montgomery County. With his presentation still here, still strong, still essential to our families, here is Mr. Sean Walton Sr.
Hello, can you hear me? I just want to make certain that we're good to go. I'd like to try a little something. If I could get, maybe, will it bother the feet if we get 2 or 3 faces? Just 2 or 3. I mean, anybody, I mean, I don't know what you guys are doing over there. John's probably gone. There we go. Thank you. We're gonna make this thing happen, right? Good stuff. Well, it's been a tremendous opportunity to listen to everybody. I love the videos. I love the singing. You know, I was over there kind of looking over my cards a little bit, just making certain that I had everything together. And, you know, I found myself kind of swaying a little bit. An amazing group of people on this call and a courageous group of people, the committee, to attempt to put something like this together. And I can say, not just for a first attempt, because this is something that I've talked to folks around the country. They're trying to figure it out. And you could have easily sat back and just waited to see what someone else was going to do. I am a fan of following some best practices, but also becoming best practices. So bravo to the committee. Just want to make sure that I acknowledge the humanness of the staff and the folks that are here. Just the humanness and the value to individuals and families. You know, we've got some folks that are loved outside of the work that we do right here. They're loved inside this work, but they're loved outside of the work that you do on a daily basis, the great challenge that you've accepted. We've got some madres, excuse me, I don't have that flip of the tongue, and some fathers and some padres and some mothers and some aunties and some anyes and some babas. We've got some mamas and some daughters and some sons, or perhaps that doggone boy in some cases. We've got some grandfathers, we've got some grandmothers, we've got some nanas, some pawpaws, we've got some aunties and some aunts, and we've got some uncles, some stepmothers and stepfathers, some bonus mothers and bonus fathers, some stepsons and stepdaughters. And, you know, we've got some goddaughters and godsons and beloved neighbors and BFFs, just plain old best friends forever. So if I missed you, I'm sorry. I tried to roll you, but we've got a bunch of humans that matter to other people outside of simply the work that we do every day. We can become so consumed with that work that we can forget to acknowledge the humanness. And I'd like to, you know, truly say thank you for the sacrifice that you've made and the work that you've done over the years. And that work has been wow. But the work that you've done over the last few weeks, that work has been whoa. that's a whole nother level of expectation. Want to make certain that we just really extend. It's difficult to even find the words to say thank you for some of the things that you've had to do. But let me also say that this is not the first time that we've had a challenge. It doesn't minimize it, but this is not the first time that we've had a challenge. And sometimes it's great to know that you've been through something because you can look back on it, which means that you made it through it, So tell you what I'm going to do. I'd like to try to get a moment to reflect and try to get a couple of folks to just, if they wouldn't mind share, I'd love to get them promoted. If you're afraid of being promoted, I think that there's a little, if your screen is anything like mine, there's a little button in the left lower hand corner of your screen where you can turn on your video. If you'd like to do that, I won't judge what your hair looks like if you don't judge what mine looks like. So you'll be fine, But I like to ask for folks to just take a moment to kind of reflect on something that they've been through. Perhaps a financial challenge, perhaps a physical challenge, a health challenge, perhaps a separation. Just reflect for a moment. Let's give us about 30 seconds or so to reflect on a moment. And I'd like for you to really let all those pessimistic thoughts just kind of come across your mind. Take yourself back to that moment. What were you feeling in that moment? But there's one little caveat to this. I'd like for you to also think about the feelings you had and what you said to yourself when you saw that you made it through. All right, let's take 30 seconds here.
So Sean, the attendees can't turn their own video on.
So they cannot, but now if they ask to be promoted, can they,
Yeah.
is that still correct? Okay.
Yeah, so Travis, if you want to promote Crescenda, she's over here saying she wants to be promoted.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Let's go with Crescenda. Thank you, Crescenda.
Unmute yourself, Crescenda.
Travis, can you unmute Crescenda? There we go.
There we go.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How is everyone?
Great, great. Would you like to share a time that perhaps you've gone through something in your personal life, just a brief kind of story, how that made you feel, and what were your feelings when you saw that you made it through?
Well, this is just recently. This pandemic have scared me because this is the first time I've ever been through it out of 37 years of my life. It taught me a lot. It taught me not to be feared. It taught me not to be discouraged. I am now, I'm proud to say that I have completed my CDA. That was something that I thought that I wasn't gonna be able to do, but I did it, and I'm proud of what I have accomplished.
Wow.
I let this pandemic scare me, saying that, oh, I'm not gonna be able to make it through this class.
Yeah.
But as of yesterday, I have completed my CDA.
Wow, look at there. Look at that courage, And thank you, Crescenda. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your courage and congratulations again.
Thank
Tremendous.
you.
Turning that fear into some motivation, having that still moment, that quiet moment to be able to kind of reflect and look at things. And there's going to be that fear initially, there's going to be that fear. but we won't stay in fear. We haven't stayed in fear in the past. Okay, if I could get one more person, then this time I'd like for you to think back. I need somebody a little bit of a Head Start Miami Valley CDC seasoning. We can even go back before perhaps your Head Start location was attached to Miami Valley CDC. Give me an old school, I don't want to call it old school, a seasoned school individual. If you could just share with me one time that Head Start has been in a challenging time that might have caused you some anxiety, some angst, and whether those pessimistic thoughts you were having at that moment, and how'd you feel once you made it through? Who would like to be promoted? Oh, I see someone calling on, somebody's raising someone else's hand. I love it. I love it. Who would like to be promoted? If I don't get someone to volunteer soon, I'm one of those type, I may know your name is somewhere, I can't see the list, but I know you're there and I'll call on you.
Hey, I spoke.
Okay, Travis, we're gonna mute Christian. Good, okay, here we go. Come on, Miss Pearl. Come on, come on. All right, well, if we don't have anybody, are we certain? You see anybody? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I will tell a quick story. All right, and then we'll get into the meat of this thing. I worked for Community Action Partnership for 10 years. And throughout that time, I knew that nothing was forever. I guess we can have the Youth Empowerment Center, I was an administrator, but I still had that direct frontline contact. I would tell them to put me on the van driving list every once in a while. I would show up and hand out food. I made certain that I attended field trips and things like that. Well, I can remember when we had the first economic downturn, it turned into an economic recession. I'm telling you, if I can say community action agencies were zeroed out so many times, I mean, I said, my heart would go up and down, I began to feel really, really, I feel a bit of despair, not just for me, because on top of me, I had a staff that we had to think about how we would keep employed. And what really tugged at my heart was when I had groups of young people talking about, we can have a car wash, my grandmother makes good chicken, we can fry some chicken, this sort of thing. While it was cute, it was heart-wrenching because they were coming at a mountain with an ice pick. And I was so pessimistic during that particular time, but we made it through. We made it through. Our funding was restored because we have a history, and there's a connected history between community action agencies and Head Start agencies because we are popular people. So let's go through a little bit of history, and we're going to look at a little challenge. We're going to watch a couple-minute video here. So Travis, go ahead and roll the video, please.
By 2010, with the help of federal, state, and local partners, Head Start had invested in more than 27 million children since its inception in 1965. But the path hasn't always been easy. The 112th Congress threatened to cut funding to Head Start, but the $1.1 billion budget decrease was rejected by the Senate. By April 2011, a budget was passed that enabled all current Head Start families to remain in Head Start programs. As the turbulence in Congress continued, the 2013 sequestration caused more than 57,000 children to lose their seats in Head Start classrooms. The $427 million budget cut had a massive impact on Head Start's ability to serve the most vulnerable children in our country. On January 13, 2014, Head Start programs breathed a sigh of relief when Congress passed a spending bill to fully restore funding. Later that year, Head Start received a $1 billion increase in funding, including a new investment in early Head Start childcare partnerships. The Obama administration then convened the best minds in education both in the private and public sectors, at the White House Summit on Early Education.
Early education is one of the best investments we can make, not just in a child's future, but in our country.
Their mission was to recommit the country to providing quality, early education for all our citizens. As Head Start turns 50 years old, we set out with renewed spirit, recharged conviction, and the reclaimed imperative to continue the war against poverty by inspiring all of our young people to learn and achieve. With 32 million alumni and 50 years of opportunity, we're all part of one historic change.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you. We've got a history of challenge. We are the love child of tough times of 1964. We were born of the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964, announced in 1965. What you saw was 5 years ago. We've got milestones. We've been here. There's a book that is called A History of Community Action Agency instead of The History of Community Action Agency. So I'm going to say that we are part of a history of Head Start. And here's the difference. The history means final, but yet we are still. A history means we're still writing this thing. We're here. That grit, all the things that we've been through, that's in your DNA. That grit is in your Head Start DNA. We were born of a declaration of war, a war on poverty. Isn't it ironic that we are going to be reborn under a declaration of war on a pandemic? We're still here. We will be still. We will continue. Still meaning always, continually. We will be still. We will be always and continually due to this new declaration of war and other declaration of wars before. Why? Because we respond. We respond in a powerful and a strong way. We show that we are valuable. We show that we are essential. In war, there are heroes. There are folks that do many different things, and you, educators, outreach team, this is your moment. Outreach, you open the door. Community team, boots on the ground, you open the door to make certain that our teachers and educators have a space in the home. That's all about relationship. And in a war, heroes have buddies, they have companions, they have folks who lift them up. They have folks who keep them going. And from what I've seen, you've been able to do this over and over and over. There was a story about a man or two men actually, who shared a hospital room. And one of those men was a soldier, and that man had the bed next to the window. And there was another man in that room, and he was restricted to laying flat on his back. He could not move his neck. And so therefore he was confined to not only the bed, but confined to a boring view of a glaring light. So he asked the soldier if he could tell him what he could see outside the window. And the soldier was glad to tell the man who was confined on his back. The soldier said, oh wow, I see a beautiful pond. Oh, I see a sunny day. There are ducks swimming around in the pond. Oh, what's that there? There's a couple walking down a path with red and yellow and white flowers. Oh, there's some kids with little sailboats. that they're pushing into the water. Well, sometime later, the soldier was discharged from the hospital, and he moved on past the gentleman who was on his back. He said goodbye, and the gentleman thanked him and let the soldier know that I feel better because of your stories. Thank you for showing me what I could not see. So after the soldier was discharged, a little bit later, the gentleman who was confined to his back, now feeling better, asked if he could be moved near the window. So the nurse slid him next to the window, and much to the gentleman's surprise, there was a brick wall. There was no pond, no opportunity to see anyone walk, no ducks, no flowers, but that soldier was blind. But he understood through being a soldier, the need to sometimes help people see what you can't even see, to give folks hope when you don't have hope. That's what you've done. That's what you've done. We've got families that can now see hope because you've visited them, because you've posted videos, because you've dropped off education kits. You've passed out 1,500 kits of 5,500 in total, 1,500 over a period of time. I was losing count. I think it was like 27 things of formula. There was diapers. There was everything. You've offered educational challenges to see that there would be some sort of normalcy, some sort of connection, inviting young people to do things like pick out something in their house that starts with the first letter of their name, still in the midst of it, showing that grit, showing that whether or not we're in a time of peace or a time of war, it's Head Start that actually shows up. Just 1 hour of 1 week, you were able to distribute 315 food boxes, 131 diapers, 75 wipes, 27 containers of formula, 1,575 meals in a week, 5,555 total meals. I mean, where do they do this? All while much of the country was trying to figure out how to virtually connect. All while other educators, and I'm not taking anything away from them, I'm celebrating you. All while other institutions were trying to figure out how to get their families to connect, how to get their families involved, how to keep things going. But this is more than about an education. This is about a relationship. The reason that your families are responding to you because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And love is what love does. You've got lifelong relationships. And the reason that we are still here, always, continually, here in this moment, whatever that moment is, strong, able to withstand force and pressure, essential, absolutely necessary, is because of those relationships. We have survived bipartisan struggles and funding challenges due to politics, but we were still there. Why? Because outside of politics, we have direct access to humans, to people, to folks who love us because we love them back, to folks who are convinced that we love them because we build confidence in them through parenting programs, because we're willing to go to where they are directly in their house, just as folks did it back in 1965. LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, said that it was not so much a federal program, but it was a community program and a neighborhood program. And you are community people and you are neighborhood people. I don't care whether you live in that neighborhood or not. Folks know you. You have no idea the sense of calm and peace that's been given to the folks who you serve by your actions. I'd much rather be needed than liked. You've got them both. And the reason why I'd like to rather be needed than liked is because folks can fall out of like with you, but they still need you. The beauty is you do good work, you do good measurable work, you educate. You are absolutely essential, but folks actually like you. They like you because of what you do. There's a reason why Head Start is still here. There's a reason. And of course, you know, it requires strong leadership. It requires advocates, folks to tell those stories and folks to get in there and fight and to kind of, you know, woo folks to vote a certain way so that we can continue to be funded. But those leaders fight with some amazing weapons. And those weapons are provided and furnished by you. Those weapons are those real life and true stories like 1,500 food boxes, 5,500 total food boxes. Those direct, helping folks file unemployment who didn't understand, helping folks, even though they're moving from us, helping to make sure that they're enrolled in kindergarten, making those funny videos. Those are the true stories that make us both liked and needed. You provide those stories. Just 3 days from now, May 18, 2020 is our birthday. We'll be 55 years old. When I tell my young people that I'm over 50 and the agency, the program is over 50, I'm 52, it's 55. They tell me I'm old. And I say, but there's a reason that I'm still here. There's some things that I know how to treat people. I know how to offer something of great value. There's a reason why I'm still here. And let me just say this. You are a part of history. Yes, absolutely. 1965, May 18th, 2020, that was history. But you are history right now, right here in May of 2020. You'll be history on that day. On that day, you will be right back to work, right back doing the things that you've been doing, and you will be writing your own heroic history. Absolute heroes. Still here, still strong, and still essential. In what I believe is going to be legendary words of Maggie Hess, roll with the punches and let it ride. I love you, and I'll show you by how I treat you every time I see you.
Thank you, Sean. Awesome words of encouragement. I had a conversation. Sean called me last night, later in the evening, and we had a conversation, and I just couldn't tell him or express to him just the pride that I have in our agency since the stay-at-home order and our preschools and early Head Start programs and home-based programs stop meeting face-to-face and stop being in the centers. I just couldn't express the pride, and I want to thank everyone at home for just making our families. I mean, I think they have a new vision now of what Head Start and what Miami Valley Child Development Centers is all about. And thank you very much. So next up, we have a public service announcement. Please check your emails, your agency emails, as well as go over your timesheets. I believe timesheets are due on Monday early, so please make sure those are accurate and correct. And next up, who's ready to get rocking? We have a true rock star vocal performance up next. So with this next segment, please feel free to get up, to stretch, to sing along, and make sure that you are dancing your little hearts out. So if you could please help me in welcoming the FCP support supervisor for Town and Country and ECEC with her rendition of Adele's The Fool That I Am. Please put your hands together for Shelly Cavis.
I remember the things that I thought I wanted to be. So desperate to find a way out of my world and finally breathe. Right before my eyes I saw that my heart, it came to life. This ain't easy, it's not meant to be. Every story has its scars, but when the pain cuts you deep, when the night keeps you from sleeping, just look and you will see I will be your remedy. When the world seems so cruel and your heart makes you feel like a fool, I promise you will see that I will be your remedy. Oh, yeah. No river is too wide or too deep for me to swim to you. Come whatever, I'll be the shelter that won't let the rain come through. Your love, it is my truth, and I will always love you. Love you. When the pain cuts you deep and the night keeps you from sleeping, just look and you will see that I will be your remedy. When the world seems so cruel and your heart makes you feel like a fool, I promise you will see I will be your remedy. Oh, oh, oh. When the pain cuts you deep, when the night keeps you from sleeping, just look and you will see I will be. When the world seems so cruel and your heart makes you feel like a fool, till I promise you will see that I will be your remedy.
Wow, well, that was emotional. Thank you, Shelley, and on behalf of I think everybody watching that was beautiful. So we're gonna move it along. Hopefully, everyone at home enjoyed that as much as I did. So next up, we have an author, a speaker, a consultant trainer. He is our keynote speaker for today. Mark Anthony Garrett is a former Head Start child who grew up in the tough inner city of Dayton, Ohio, as a foster child who was later adopted. Throughout his childhood, he faced many hardships such as poverty, neglect, homelessness, abandonment, as well as abuse. At 14, he lost his adopted mother to cancer, dropped out of school, joined a gang, and was in and out of juvenile jail. This experience inspired him to dedicate his life to helping misdirected youth and adults overcome negative challenges within their own lives and discover what they have unlimited power within them. Get ready to be inspired. But beforehand, here is a short video of a very special teacher that forever changed his life.
I never imagined that a teacher could be such a blessing in my life. Teachers have the ability to change the world, one child at a time. I am 100% convinced that my teacher helped save my life. There she is. How are you? Oh, God bless you. Good to see you. So good to see you. Miss Ritchie's desk sat about right here. Her desk was right here. And she would come from behind her desk, and this was her kingdom. This is where it all transpired. This is where she taught the disadvantaged kids, the special needs kids, to be great. Well, my first memory was actually having my dad bring me into the school, and my dad brings me into the school, and we walk in, and we're in this hallway, and we look to the right, and there's Miss Ritchie standing there. And we look at each other for probably 3 to 4 seconds. She comes up and she says, "May I help you?" And she looks down at me and she asks my dad, "Who is this handsome young man?" I was a challenging student in a sense that I grew up in the foster care system. I was an abused kid, very introverted. So I was one of those special needs kids. I was a special ed kid. And I was just a kid who needed a lot of attention.
The fact that I taught kids and I knew he had problems, it really meant something to me.
You know, during those times, I had a lot of problems at home and I was carrying a lot of emotional baggage.
He spent quite a bit of time with his head on his lap, on the desk.
Miss Ritchie would come by and just kind of put her hand on my back and rub my back and tell me everything was going to be okay. But the most important thing that I remember that she told me was that one day I would grow up and I would be significant.
And it took a while for that to change.
Because I didn't really believe that I was like other kids. I didn't believe that I could achieve like other kids. But the one thing that Miss Ritchie did for me was give me a sense of hope. Give me a sense that I could be more than I ever thought I could be. And I remember she said that in this classroom, in this space, it's our kingdom. And in the kingdom, you have kings, you have queens, and kings and queens are treated like royalty. And so she said every time we would come into class, we had to act like we were royalty, which in our mind, we thought that was kind of crazy. But what she was doing was really building our self-esteem.
Well, he got confident. He raised his head. And we were making progress. You know, he could see that he was making progress, and he responded to me.
I don't know where I would have been if Miss Ritchie weren't in my life. Probably in jail, probably maybe dead. And just having her in my life, when I think about it now, it's just impactful because you never know the impact someone could have in your life until you finally realize just what they were able to do for you. So I don't know where I'd be.
I would say I gained as much as he did because it was like a little miracle. She gave me that for Christmas.
Okay, I was wondering if she painted that, but she didn't paint it. She
No,
just gave it to me for Christmas. She was the first person who told me that I was significant. And for a little kid who had never been told that before, to have someone genuinely tell you that you're significant, that was so life-changing for me. And it just put me on a whole different course emotionally and also mentally and educationally. The impact Miss Ritchie had on my life has been absolutely phenomenal. Because of what she did for me, I became a professional speaker and trainer who travels across the nation speaking to tens of thousands of people within school systems, foster care agencies, and corporations. Miss Ritchie is my inspiration.
It's one of my highlights in my life, you know. It really is. I've always been for the underdog.
Yeah, it's because I really appreciate what you did.
Yeah.
And just the whole, you know, your whole life of service and believing in kids like me. I don't know what else to say. It's just amazing, you know? I would tell every teacher out there to never, ever give up. Because you just never know. You never know the impact you're making in a kid's life. You never know that kid that you may think can't achieve or you may think can't make it could be the very one through what it is that you do. They could go out there and change the world. So I would tell every teacher to think big. I will tell every teacher to never give up on any kid and to truly understand that they are heroes. Because in my opinion, teachers are heroes.
Be nice to them. You know, they have no faith in themselves. And if you just smile at them or, you know, give them a boost now and then, that would be so helpful. I'm proud of him. I really am. He's kept touch, and he's done a lot for me to remember the good times and that, you know, you did mean something to somebody.
When I think about what she did for me, I don't know how I could ever repay her. I don't know the words to say except I love you. And I sincerely mean that.
I love him because he succeeded. I do.
You are my hero.
Oh. Bless your heart. You did. You turned out wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, that was awesome.
And everybody, please welcome Mark Anthony Garrett.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much. How's my audio? Can everybody hear me? Or can somebody give me an indication?
Yep, we can hear you.
Fantastic. Well, first and foremost, let me say this. I am extremely honored to be here. But before I start, I have to say something. Robert Youngerman, you are a rock star, bro. I'm just saying, because the way you're kind of anchoring this thing is phenomenal. Your energy is contagious. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much, man. You just inspire me. But I am just thoroughly excited to be here today, because when I think about what it is you stand for, I know that you stand for excellence. I know that you stand for diligence, and you stand for making sure that every child that you interact with never forgets that you are here to serve them, never forgets that you're here to inspire them, never forgetting that the essence of what it is you do is to help them reach the apex of their greatness, not only them, but their family as well. And what's most exciting for me is because I am a former Head Start child. And I remember Head Start very vaguely, but what I do remember, ladies and gentlemen, is the simple fact that I remember getting up in the morning and my father would get me ready, and I would get on this little bus and I would go to a facility, and I remember circle time. And I remember Cheerios, and I hate Cheerios, but they would give us Cheerios, you know, but we would eat these Cheerios, and then I remember nap time. But the circle time that we would have, I can't tell you per se what was said, but what I remember, even though I was 3 at the time, that I remember how you made me feel. I remember the feelings of emotion. I remember the feelings of love. I remember the embraces and the hugs. So I guess I say that to say this, that you're more than enough. And I want to also say to Ms. Powers, first of all, congratulations. But I also want to let you know, Ms. Powers, that there's nothing to be afraid of, because you are surrounded by a family of like-minded, loving, caring individuals who I believe part of their purpose in life is to serve. So you're in good hands. You're going to be just fine. But I just want to say congratulations to you. But young lady, you have nothing to fear. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen, and there's a little lag here, so bear with me. But I'll just keep on talking as we do this. But I tell you what, I am just thoroughly excited. And as I watched the videos that you were doing, I became very emotional. I became emotional because as I watched those videos, I saw the face of the children. And I do a lot of work in child welfare. I do a lot of work around the nation with children. And so children are just, they have a special place in my heart. So I just want you to know that as I watched those videos, that it inspired me. And I want to let everybody who is watching today know this, that I'm proud of you too. Because what you have done during this pandemic has been nothing but amazing. I mean, you have not let the excellence stop. You have not let your mission stop. You have continued to push forward. And that is something I have to commend you for. So thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much for being encouraged, but thank you for your service. Because without people like you, there would be no kids like me who grew up. And I hope that my life has turned out okay, but I know that my first start was as a Head Start child. And I am having some difficulty with the transition here. So I don't know if someone can share my screen for me because it's not working on my end. Or can you guys see my screen? No? Can someone give me an indication?
I can see it, but it's still in the preview mode. Go to the slideshow and start that.
Gotcha. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you can see it. Okay, and there's a little lag. Can you still see it?
Can still see it.
Can still see it.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's kind of delaying on my end, but I'll keep on talking until it pops up. But as I said before, here we go. All right. Okay. And now there's the swirl of death, but it'll do what it does, so whatever. But nonetheless, here's what I know. Even with the lag in technology, even with the coronavirus, the thing about us is that you have not let this stop you. As a matter of fact, you have been even more encouraged because of the pandemic, because of what you stand for. And so I wanted this message today to be about the power of a hero. How do you impact lives through service excellence, leadership, dynamic connections, and outstanding teamwork? And the reason that I chose hero is that I believe that each of you are a hero. I believe that you're a hero in your own right, because when you decided to work in this capacity, whether you are a teacher or an administrator, whether you're in food service, whatever, this is for everybody. When you made the decision to step into this world of excellence and step into this world of Head Start, you became a hero automatically just by your choice. And so, you know, I'm just very excited about that. But more importantly, I'm excited about the team. Now, let me tell you something about this team here. First of all, we were on a Skype yesterday, so here's a screenshot of that. And they were talking about, well, we've never done this before, and how are we going to get this done? But here's what I know through all of that. No matter what they said, they still got it done. I didn't hear anybody complaining. I didn't hear anybody saying, oh my God, what are we going to do? Can this really work? All I heard was, we're going to make it work. It may not be perfect, but we're going to do it anyway. That's a difference of leadership. That's a difference in perception. That's a different way of thinking. It's a different consciousness. And when you have a different consciousness when it comes to your leadership team, it is impossible for the whole organization not to thrive. So to Travis, Berta, Wendy, Maria, Scott, Hope, Robert, Sean, John, Sharon, and Dave Chesney was not there, but I met Dave Chesney last year when I spoke at the Governor's Resiliency Conference, and she's part of the reason that I'm here, so I had to throw her in there as well. But more importantly, the thing about this team is that their way of thinking is, let's get it done. Let's not worry about the obstacles. That's a whole different stratosphere when we talk about people who, what I call, have satellite thinking. They think beyond the situation because they understand that the purpose behind what you do is bigger than any obstacle, whether it's COVID, whether it's funding cuts. For some reason, since 1965, you guys have found a way to get it done, and that has to be commended. But also, you know, John Kinzel said something that really inspired me, and John, I want to thank you for this. He says that you all have what it takes. Everything inside of you to be great, to continue to inspire children, is already inside of you. It's locked up inside of you. Everything you need to reach the apex of your greatness in your personal life, in your business life, in your work life, it's all in there. And back in my day, I'm 51, so I'm aging myself here, but back in my day when I was a kid, there was a TV commercial that came on, and it was a ragu commercial, spaghetti sauce. And the tagline was, like ragu, it's in there, which means that everything you have is inside of you. And I want you guys to understand that sometimes it's going to be arduous and sometimes it's going to be difficult, but nonetheless, you do it anyway. And that's what I love about the Head Start organization and what you guys are doing. I want you to understand also is that the very best is yet to come. That everything that we are going through, whether it's pandemic, whether it's our own personal thing, that on the other side of that, just like after every storm, the sun comes out, the best is yet to come. So one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give to all of you who are serving our children is focus on what you want. Don't focus on the pandemic. Don't focus on what you don't have. Focus on what you want, because I personally believe that whatever you want most in life, you got to give it away. You want more love? Give it away. You want more compassion? Give it away. You want more money? Give it away, for those who believe that. But here's the thing. What I do know also is that the best is just right around the corner. And sometimes in life, as we're pushing forward, we stop right before the blessing. We stop right before we reach that point we're trying to reach. We stop because of fear. Because of just situations and things being arduous, but keep pushing, because right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, I personally believe that the best is yet to come. Now, I threw this in here as we were going through the presentation, and I kept on hearing this word, hope. I've heard people say hope all morning. And so I wanted to kind of tell you that's what we do. That's what we provide. We provide hope. But in my opinion, there are two meanings to hope, H-O-P-E. The first meaning is, what is it that we do within our organization? We help other people excel. That's what we do. We take people and we take children, we take families, and we help them excel. So that's the first meaning, helping other people excel. And then the other one is helping one person every day. Every day that we come into work, whether it's in our own home or we're working remotely or if it's physical, every day if we can help one person, whether it's someone in our life, in our personal family, whether it's the children, if we can help one person every day, that's what hope is. And so I just wanted to kind of throw that out there and to let you know that you are bringing hope. And for a kid like me who went through a lot of crazy things in my life, I believe personally, this is on my own personal belief, I don't know what they taught me in that Head Start classroom, but I do believe that at the beginning of a child's life, the influences and the impressions that is bestowed upon him or her resonates in the emotional, what I call the emotional DNA. It is that memory that is always there, it always lingers. It goes into our conscious mind, and then it goes down to the subconscious, and then even to our super subconscious. And I personally believe that whatever those Head Start wonderful individuals did for me, that it has resonated throughout my whole life. Because I'm sure they taught me how to read, they taught me to do a bunch of different things, and how to have manners and to play well and just how to be a good little boy. And so I appreciate that. And so I do believe that you have also given me hope as well. So, oops, sorry about that. So what do you guys believe? You know, as I went and searched your organization, I was really inspired by your mission and your vision. Your mission says this, says that we deliver exceptional, not unexceptional, but exceptional early childhood education and develop compassionate partnerships with families to support them in realizing their hopes. Oh, we just talked about hope, did we not? And dreams. See, these children have hopes and dreams. Even though they're young, they want to grow up and be something successful. Their parents want to be something successful. And to know that you have a mission that helps to propel that is an amazing thing. And then your vision. Now watch this. It says Miami Valley Child Development Centers Incorporated achieves our mission by providing quality environment and experiences. Remember when I talked about earlier about the experience I had with Head Start? I don't remember what they said, but I know how the experience made me feel 50-some years later. That support active learning, which empowers individuals to seize opportunities for improving their conditions in life. Listen, the mission and vision are crucial. What I would suggest is go and read these. Let these become part of your DNA. Never forget what you stand for. Never forget why you do what you do. Keep pushing, keep understanding that you're here for something bigger. But the vision and the mission, I think are absolutely exceptional. So because of that, I'm so excited. And I found this picture and I said, you know what? I don't know about you, but I'm really excited, and it's hot in here because I'm trying to close in, so forgive me for doing that. But nonetheless, I am excited because I'm around people who have been designed to inspire children to reach the apex of their greatness. And I think that's absolutely incredible. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do for me is I'm going to ask you to take a leap of faith. And I want you to, for a moment, to think about something. I want you to, as you start taking this leap of faith, I want you to close your eyes just for a moment. And I want you to listen to the question I'm going to ask you. And I want you to really think about this. And here's my question. What if, just what if everybody that's here today, under the sound of my voice, what if you all ceased to exist? What if you were never born? What if you weren't here? And the reason I wanted to ask you that question is because that when you begin to think about your purpose and your existence, I believe that we're here for two reasons. The first reason I think we're here on this planet right now is to understand what is our purpose. And then once we pull out what our purpose is, then it's time for us to serve on purpose, because I think that life is all about service. So this leap of faith that I'm asking you to take is a leap of faith to say, just relax, take a deep breath, and I want you to trust me just for the next few minutes to give you some inspiration, to give you some motivation, but also to give you some validation that your existence on this planet within the organization upon which you serve is crucial. And you know, Dr. Martin Luther King says this about faith. He says, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. See, what I know about Head Start, what I know about your great organization and the people that serve within it is that you guys are not concerned about what you can't see. What you are concerned about is what you can see, because even though you can't see something, you guys push forward anyway. See, you're one of those organizations that doesn't make excuses. You find a way to get it done because you understand the greater sense of purpose is not just wrapped up in us, but it's wrapped up in the children and the families that we serve, because we are helping children to grow up, to make dreams come true, to help them to believe in themselves, thus also helping them to become greater members of society. See, what we don't understand, what we don't see on that bridge is what the kids are going to turn out to be. But our faith has to be so strong, and our belief has to be so strong in what it is that we do and what we are doing, that we believe that the children that we serve will grow up and that they will be successful. It's a high belief level. Does that happen all the time? No, sometimes we hear stories of children who fall through the cracks, and those stories are sad. And sometimes we hear stories of children who end up incarcerated, or maybe they end up getting themselves in negative situations that they can't reverse, and that is traumatic. But here's what I know as well, that for every child that we feel may not make it, there are thousands who do. And it doesn't mean that we don't want to support the ones who may fall through the cracks, but we do it because we want to just do the best we can with everything that we have. And though those children who may not make it through to the greater levels, that's okay too, because even those children, we can continue to support them through our belief level, through the due diligence that we understand that we're here for something bigger than ourselves. So that's the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, is just to kind of take this leap of faith and understand that everything that you're doing is working for the greater good for the children that we serve, okay? So now we're going to do a little exercise. I'm going to ask you guys to kind of think outside the box here for a little bit. And thinking outside the box, I want you to think about, what do you want? What do you want this organization to be? How will you serve this organization under this pandemic? Will you operate in fear, or will you be courageous and say the pandemic doesn't define us? The pandemic is just a temporary stepping stone and an opportunity for us to get closer. We have to do it in a different way, but we must never lose that human connection, because the human connections and the relationships upon which we build with the children are the heartbeat of the organization. The greater the relationship with the children and the families, the greater the outcomes. And that's what I want you guys to think about. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put up a box, and I'm going to put up this box. And what I want you to do with this box, here it is. I want you to look directly into the center. So hopefully you can see this on the screen. I want you to focus directly into the center of this box. And I want you to focus directly in the center of the box. And I want you to focus directly into the center of the box. And the more you focus in the center of the box, for some of you, the box will change. it will flip. It will go this way and then that way, this way and then that way, back and forth. Now, for some of you, you may not see it right away, but the more you look into the center of the box, it's like an optical illusion, it will flip. And the moral of this story and this exercise is when we're going through things in life, whether it's at work, whether it's through this pandemic, we have to look at it from a different set of eyes. And we have to understand that even though we're looking at something, the truth of the matter is that this pandemic doesn't define us. And when you have that shift in your mind, when you have that shift in your consciousness, that's what life is all about. And when the children have it, and those teachers who are in those classrooms who are working with those kids, and some kids you can work with, they give you no trouble, and then some kids give you the business. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Some of these kids come in, they have different attitudes, different ways of thinking. It's just a different generation. If you guys haven't been cussed out thoroughly, give it a little time. It's going to happen. It may happen. I mean, you're going to hear everything. Listen, I've heard stories of, it blows my mind the kind of stories I hear. But even though the arduousness that goes into what it is we do, the blessing and that aha moment when we have that shift in a child's life and we have that connection, that is what it's all about. And that's what we're striving for. So let me read this to you. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, life is all about inspiration. Patanjali says it best. He says that when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, he says that all your thoughts will break their bonds. He says that your mind transcends limitations, your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. When I read that quote, what it reminded me of is that we are here for something bigger. And our project is to save lives. Our project is to enhance lives. So understand this too, ladies and gentlemen, that you are more than just your title. That in fact, you are lifesavers. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to save lives. And so when you begin to understand that, you begin to understand that life is all about connections. It's all about connecting. And when we're able to connect to the heartbeat of a child, to the essence of a child, to a spirit of a child and their family, it's a beautiful thing, because never forget that in everything that we do, it's all about the connection. Once we lose the connection, it's done. It's done. We must never lose that connection and understand that we fight for connections. We fight to keep that connection. We fight to make sure that that child never forgets why we do what we do. Why do you do what you do? Why do you continue to push? Why do you continue to fight? Why do you continue to do this work? It's because of the connection. We must never forget the connection. Now, this picture here is where I'm going to start diving deep into a little bit about my story. This lady right here is the love, she's one of the loves of my life. And I mean that in all good ways. This woman right here, other than my wife and my mother, I love her. I love her unconditionally, because she was one of those individuals that reminded me that I was not a mistake. See, for some of you, you may not realize that I grew up in the foster care system. My mother was 24 years of age when she had me. My mother had some very difficult decisions to make when she had me on the west side of Dayton. And when growing up in the inner city, it was rough in itself. But from what I remember, what they told me was that my mother was 24. She lived in the inner city on the west side of Dayton, and she was having some problems with drugs, self-esteem. So my mother placed me up for adoption, and I went directly into the hands of Montgomery County Children's Services. And I spent the first 7 years of my life in and out of various foster homes. And at the age of 7, I was adopted by the Garretts, and that is how I got my name. Now, my parents were non-traditional, which means that my father was born in 1918 and my mother was born in 1930. And my mother and father were old school. They were old school rules, old school values. That was during a time when children were seen, but not what? That's right, seen but not heard. You know the formula. So it was, during the 70s, it was a different time, but my parents, I think they did the best they could. And even though they were older foster parents who later adopted me, the one thing that I was missing in that relationship, in that family, was the connection. even though my father loved me, my father was old school. My father was born in 1918. My father was an ex-Marine. My father was not the huggy Philly type of guy. My father wouldn't have watched Lifetime, and he definitely wouldn't have watched Oprah. He was not that guy. My dad was a hard worker. He was a drinker. He was a partier, but he took care of his family, and my dad had a lot of trauma in his life. My mother, same issue. Now, my mother was the floor general. My mother just had a way of being able to do 1,000 things at the same time. But having 7 children, mama did what she had to do. Now, I had 5 brothers and sisters from that were not connected to me that my mother and father had from previous marriages. And then there was me, and then there was another adopted child as well, making a total of 7 of us. But by the time I came into the picture, I was the only one at the house. My brothers and sisters were much older than me, and they had children my age. And so growing up in that environment, I wanted to make sure that I was seen. I wanted to make sure that even though I was adopted, that they saw me, and I just felt that my parents didn't see me. But when I ended up failing the 3rd grade, I was placed in special education, and back in the 70s, that was just a devastating thing to be placed in special ed. But I remember they got together with my parents, and they said, well, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett, there's something really different about your son. He doesn't connect well with other people. Can you give us a little history on your son? And they sat down and kind of ran through the history of me being in foster care and then, you know, being adopted. And I remember as I sat there in that meeting at 8 years old, the counselor stopped my father and said, oh, Mr. Garrett, did you say that you adopted him? And my father said, yes. Did you tell me that he was in foster care? And my father said, yes. And the interesting thing about that is that he looked at my mother and father in their eye, and he said, Mr. Garrett, I hate to tell you this, but because Mark was in foster care, because Mark isn't like other kids, you really shouldn't expect too much from him. And I remember that my mother and father kind of looked at each other, and the only problem with that whole scenario is that my mother and father, they bought the hype. They bought the hype. And from that moment, my life shifted, and I was placed in special education. I remember, as I said in my homeroom classroom that year, we had a split classroom, and by this time, we had moved to a town called Huber Heights, Ohio, which was, I mean, back in the 70s, the Huber homes was just booming. And my father came home, and he came to our little efficiency apartment because we lived in a little project called the Soda Bass. I don't know if you guys from Dayton, if you know where the Soda Bass is, and Hilltop and Arlington Courts. We were in every project you could probably imagine, right? We had little houses when we could, but we were more in the projects. And I remember my father comes home one day, and he says, I have a surprise for you, Mark Anthony. And he wraps a little bandana around my eyes where I can't see, and we jump into that station wagon that was like 13,000 feet long. You guys remember that with the big wood strip down the side? He puts us in there, put the dog in there. I'm in the back with the dog, and my mom's in the front, my dad's in the front. And I remember we drive for like what seems forever. And then my dad says, you ready? And I took off that bandana, and I looked to the right, jumped out the car, and there was a little brick house. It wasn't very big, but it was made out of brick. There was no syringes out. There was no people out selling drugs. You didn't have to worry about getting jumped or robbed or anything like that. And for the first time in my life, as I ran through that house, I felt a sense of peace. I felt that, that this was maybe a turning point in our life, and then this incident happens. And I remember they came down to my homeroom class, and they pulled me out. They took me down to room 315. And 315 were for the kids that nobody wanted. 315 were for those children who were different, who were neglected, who they called retarded, who they said, oh, they can't, they're not like other kids, they're different. And we had a room way at the other end of the school. And I remember that I walked down that hallway to that classroom, and tears were coming down my eyes because I didn't want to be labeled like those other kids. I didn't want to be ousted out. But I'd already got embarrassed, and I'm heading down this room, and I remember that my dad had just bought me a brand new pair of Pro Kids. And I'm walking down the hallway, my head's down like this, and the tears are falling, and they're bouncing on the cement, and they're jumping into my Pro Kids. As I walk down to that classroom, I'm looking in the classroom, and the aide says, hey, you wait here. And Miss Ritchie was in the supply closet, and I'm looking in this room, and I don't like what I see, because I see kids that I know. I see kids that I've been mean to, like Russell. See, Russell was another black kid that went to the school. I never played with Russell, didn't even like Russell. And nobody played with Russell. Not the fact that he was black, but the fact that every time Russell would talk, he would stutter. And we called him Stuttering Russell. And then there was Patrick with a prosthetic arm. He had been in foster care. That was my boy. And we just played together. We got along really well. But you know, a week prior, you know, he was on the playground. He got jumped by a couple brothers. I remember I stood there and I watched them beat this kid. And all these kids joining around. They're like, pull it off, pull his arm off. And they pulling on this prosthetic arm until it snapped. And one of the brothers held it up like a trophy. And he threw it over the fence before he kicked Patrick into the ribs. And then I remember that there was this little girl named Jessica. And Jessica, none of the girls would play with her because she didn't smell very well. She walked funny and she had oily hair and she had all these lesions all over her body. And Miss Ritchie, she would come into this classroom and she would come in and she would kind of inspire us to be better. And I remember on this particular day, as I'm looking in this classroom, I remember seeing Miss Ritchie going in and inspiring kids, but didn't know who she was and never dreamed that I'd be one of those kids sitting in that classroom. And the reason that Jessica smelled bad because her family didn't have running water, and the reason she had lesions all over her body is, see, when her dad would drink his alcohol, she became the human ashtray. And the reason that she walked funny is because her father did things to little 8-year-old girls that grown men should not do. And those were the children that Miss Ritchie served. As I stood there looking into this classroom, thinking my life is going to be turned upside down, the aide comes over and says, Mark, have a seat. And I'm looking around the room and wasn't very many kids in there. And I saw a little seat right there in the middle in the third row. So I took a seat there and nobody said a word. Nobody said anything. You could hear a pin drop. Because we all knew we were different. We all knew that nobody liked us. And we all were wondering, why are we here? But then all of a sudden, something changed. Miss Ritchie, she walked in. And when she walked in, her presence changed the environment of the room. See, energy is everything. And the bigger your energy, the more energy you have, the more you inspire children. Children respond to energy. If you go in there half dead, they're going to respond half dead. You got to be alive. You got to be ready. She walked in there with this thing called enthusiasm. And she walks in the room, and I'm going to try to imitate her the best I can. She walks in and she says, hi, children, how are you? So good to see you today. Look at you. Oh, Patrick, you're so beautiful. Hey, Russell. Hey, Jessica, your hair is awesome. And there's little Mark Anthony. Well, children, this year is going to be a little bit different. And she begins to talk to us and tell us that we're going to create a kingdom. And she says that we will call each other sir and ma'am. That we would have this whole level of respect. And then she says something to me that thoroughly shook all of us. She says, oh, outside that door it says 315, and underneath it says special ed, but I teach not special ed children. I only teach children who just happen to be special. And because all of you are here, this is our kingdom, and I now bow before royalty. Well, this is 1977. We know crack cocaine wasn't out there. We know she wasn't a crackhead. We knew she wasn't on drugs. We're just trying to figure out, who is this woman talking to us like this, talking to us like we matter, talking to us like we have purpose, talking to us like our existence was important to her. And it shifted something in all of us. And in my little body, I felt more joy, more energy than I'd ever felt before. And I remember that it was the essence of her presence. And the reason I wanted to tell you that story, ladies and gentlemen, is because your presence is everything. Her presence was life-changing. And if you think that what you do doesn't matter, I'm 51 years old. I'm not supposed to be here. They said I'd be dead by the time I'm 18. They said that I would never be anything successful because I'm an 8th grade dropout, because I was physically, mentally, sexually abused, because I was in gangs and I did a lot of negative things, because my mama was into drugs and prostitution, and because I grew up in foster care, because my real father was never in my life, and my adopted dad was there, but he wasn't, and there was a lot of abuse in the house and all these things. But yet, here I am at 51, because people like you and people like her gave me permission to thrive, and that's an amazing thing. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not supposed to be a speaker. I'm an 8th grade dropout. I lost my adopted mother at 14 to cancer. I was in and out of juvenile jail. Anybody from Dayton, Ohio, if you know where 303 West 2nd Street is, exactly, I was there a lot. That's where the juvenile correctional facility was at that time. They knew me very well. And the reason I tell you this story is to let you know that I'm nothing special. I'm not. But what I do know is that the essence of what you do helped me to be the man I am today from a very early age, because I'm telling you, I personally believe that I received my foundation from Head Start. Though I can't remember any lessons or any of that, I remember a feeling of being welcome. I remember whatever facility I went into, I remember there would be music playing and we'd be dancing. It was a place where I knew that I was cared for and I was loved. It was an amazing thing, and I'm sure that it resonated within my spirit. What you do, it matters. You're more than enough. You're everything to these children. And you're everything to me, because I understand that as I speak to teachers all over the world and train teachers on high levels, low levels, it doesn't matter. All I know is that the aspect of teaching is an amazing thing. But Head Start is different. It's just something special. It's something unique. You have something different, something unique in what it is that you do and what it is that you stand for. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so for me, you know, working with Miss Ritchie and being inspired by her was really, really, really exciting for me, because at this age, I think here I just turned maybe 12. And in 1977, when I met Miss Ritchie, my father lost his job and we had to move away, and it devastated me. But Miss Ritchie said something to me the day that I left. She said, Mark Anthony, one day you will grow up and you will be significant. One day, little boy, you will grow up and you will change the world. And when I think about that, when I think about just what she did for me and believing in me when I could not believe in myself, it shifted me. It moved me. And if you think for an instant that what you do doesn't matter, you are wrong. Because I'm not supposed to be doing this, not supposed to be here. But here I am, still strong, still standing, still breathing. Because people like you gave me permission to be amazing, permission to thrive, permission to be a strong man, permission to change the world. And I try to do it every day through my actions, through my prayer, through my devotion to serving individuals like you. It's an amazing thing. But what I do know is simply this, that after, well, let me go back here. This was 12. And so Miss Ritchie shifted my whole life. And after I left her presence, you know, from 77 to 1986, it was a whirlwind. Drugs, violence, lost my adopted mother, in and out of juvenile jail, a lot of different things. But after I met her, after I was able to be inspired by her, even through all the things that happened in my life, through all the negative things, I was able to try to figure out what I was supposed to do, my greater sense of purpose. And because of time's sake, I'm going to condense this story, but just to stay with me. From 1977 to 1986, as I said before, it was very, very arduous. And from where I started in 77 to where I ended up in 86 was an amazing thing, because I was not supposed to live to 18. See, when crack cocaine hit my neighborhood, either you sold drugs or you tried to stay out the way. And I did a combination of everything. You tried to stay out of the gangs, but I joined the gang for protection. I joined the gang trying to be a part of a family. But through all of the negative things that I experienced, from the gangs to the sexual abuse to the juvenile, what I never forgot was the essence of what that woman said to me in 1977 when she says, Mark Anthony, I believe in you. Mark Anthony, I love you. See, we are seed sowers. Our job is to sow seeds. We can't control when that seed will manifest. But what we can't control is the seeds that we deposit into the emotional bank accounts of the children and individuals that we serve. And I remember that in 1986, I'm just at a standstill. I'm 18 years old and I'm done. I'm tired. My mother's not there anymore. She had passed away when I was 14. My father had been married to a second wife, which was my adopted mother. And my adopted mother died of brain cancer. My father's first wife died of brain cancer in 1965. So my father checked out emotionally. He became an alcoholic. I became a juvenile delinquent. And I started running the streets and doing negative things. And I remember in July 28th, 1986, I said, you know what? I'm done. It's over. I got to get out of this. I can't make it anymore. I'm tired. So I decided that would end my life. And so I remember that I had a 9mm gun I carried for protection. I remember that I stood in my room and I cocked this thing. And I'm standing there thinking about my whole life. How much of a failure I was, how I didn't make it out of school, how my 8th grade dropout, how I was in the gangs, how I don't have a relationship with my daddy. I had a child at 17 who passed away from being born premature. There was a lot of pressure on me. And then I had people out trying to kill me because I was gang affiliated. Not proud of that, but it was what it was, and it is what it is. It's just the way it is. And I'll say this on a side note. If you got a negative past, sometimes we live in the past when we should be trying to build better futures. I'm not the man I used to be. So people say, Mark, aren't you embarrassed to tell people? Not at all, because I was broken. But because of people like you, I went from broken to unbroken. But on July 28th, as I had that gun and I cocked it, I put it to my head because I was trying to end my life. I just wanted to end it. But every time I put the gun in my head to pull the trigger, ladies and gentlemen, I would hear Miss Ritchie's voice and it would say, breathe. But there's nobody in the room. I mean, it's a bright, sunny day. There's nobody home but me, and Miss Ritchie ain't there. So I'm thinking, I'm tripping, like, what is going on here? And I put the gun in my head again, and she says, breathe, Mark Anthony, breathe. I'm scared to death because there's nobody home. And I got this gun in my hand. I got to end this thing. I got to do it fast, and I got to do it quick. But I don't know what a suicide protocol is. Here, is it in the mouth? And I said, I'm just going to do a temple shot and end it. I took a deep breath. And I said, Miss Ritchie, I'm so sorry. And I put the gun to my head to blow my brains out. And when I got the gun right here, something tapped my hand. And I couldn't move. It's July 28th, 1986. I can't move. The sun is beaming through my window, and all of a sudden, the sun starts to fade, and the whole outside goes black. I can see nothing, and then the room goes black, and I'm frozen into spinning animation, and I'm thinking to myself, I know it's not supposed to be like this, and I'm thinking, have I already killed myself? Am I dying? Am I dead? I didn't know. I'm scared to death. And then out of my window, I see this little bright light that starts coming, getting bigger, 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 and then all of a sudden, I see 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like a movie, and then boom! Just like earlier when the movies were playing, I saw a movie. But the movie that I saw was me back in the 3rd grade at 8 years old, and I'm having what is called a spaz day. And my spaz days were when I would just go off, because I wasn't a very smart kid. And I would get very frustrated doing my math, or as they call it, arithmetic back in those days. And I'm trying to carry the one, I'm breaking my pencils, I'm flipping tables. And I can see this in my vision. I'm flipping tables, I'm just going out of control. And then all of a sudden in this vision, Miss Ritchie, she grabs me lovingly. And as I'm kicking and frailing, she walks me out of the room, takes me into the hallway. She grabs me, slides down the wall, puts me on her lap, and she starts rocking me and rubbing my back. And the whole time she's rocking and rubbing my back, she's saying, breathe, Mark Anthony, breathe. It's gonna be okay. Because I would hyperventilate. She would calm me. And then that vision, I had an epiphany. I had an epiphany that says that I don't know how I'm going to control the rest of my life, but if I can control my inhale and my exhale, maybe I got a shot. And in that moment, this poem came to me by Robert Frost that said simply this. It said, somewhere ages hence, 2 roads diverge in a wood, and I have chose the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And in that moment, I had to make a decision. And the decision was, do I let my life destroy me? Or do I take this opportunity and use it as a stepping stone to reach the greatness that Miss Ritchie saw in me? Because I didn't see it in myself. But she saw something in me that I couldn't see. She saw something in me that was there, was hidden, but it had to be birthed. And through that adversity is where it was birthed. And in that moment, I remember I fell to the ground and I got in the fetal position, and I'm just gonna say what happened to me. I said, God, if you can hear me, if you're up there, you gotta tell me what to do, because I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. What do I do? I'm 18, I'm tired and I'm broken, but I can't quit. And the reason that I fought is because Miss Ritchie said that I could do something great. See, sometimes in life, your presence is inspiration. If there was no Miss Ritchie, I would be dead. Do you understand what I'm telling you? I will be done. I would be in prison right now if I wasn't dead, guaranteed. But I will say I'll probably be dead because I probably would have blew my brains out. But in that moment, I asked God to help me. And I remember, as sure as it was yesterday, a voice says, get up. I looked around and the voice says, get up. So I got up. That was July 28, 1986. I've been up ever since. And I didn't tell that story for you guys to feel sorry about me. Oh, poor Mark Anthony. It's not about that. I told you that story for you to understand that I'm just a kid who used to be one of your kids who had a horrific life, but I'm still here because of loving, caring adults who understood the power of connection, the power of belief, the power of resiliency, the power to keep pushing. So here I am. Never underestimate your power, folks. And because of that, I was able to do great things. This is me on top of Mount Whitney, 14,300 some odd feet. I never knew that I would be able to do anything like that. And I remember that as I'm standing on this mountain, I'm looking out the other way, I'm crying. And I asked myself this question. I said, how does a nappy-headed inner city black boy end up on top of a mountain in California? And as the wind blew, I could swear a voice says, somebody told you you could. Shifted my whole life. This is me right here in the crew, just kind of, with my crew. And all of these kids here are broken. Some of these kids are Head Start kids because we had conversations. Some of these kids were told they would never be anything. But here we were, 23 miles into the backcountry, 10,000 feet for 6 months, taking care of each other, building connections. Did we fight? Sure we did. Did we have great days all the time? No, we didn't, but we finished together as one team. I would climb mountains on my own, trying to climb mountains. I would go out on expeditions, thinking about the greater purpose of life. What am I going to do with my life? What am I going to be? Where will I be in 10 years? But I never dreamed anything like this. But as I would go around California in those mountains, I would remember Head Start. Not the lessons, I don't remember those, but I remember the feelings. I remember Miss Ritchie and what she would tell me, and it shifted my life. And then as I grew up, I went to college, became a wildlife biology major, went to Ohio University, and then before that, went to Hocking College, picked up a degree in wildlife, figured out I didn't want to chase Bambi through the woods, so I said, let me go to OU, study communication, and I started my speaking career, and that shifted my life. And to date, I've been able to work with celebrities. A little girl here, a young lady from Blackie, she's doing great things right now. This is one of my most favorite pictures. This is my Dayton public school crew, some friends of mine, and that's where I got my start. And so, I love working with the Dayton teachers, and this teacher's all over, but Dayton has a special affinity in my heart. I'll tell you that. Yes, it does. And working with children. When I start working with children, especially the babies, like these are my babies. These are all my first graders. And I would go around to these schools and I would talk to these kids about love and about leadership. And all of a sudden they would just gravitate to me, especially the kids that had trouble, because I understood where they were, because I understood what it meant to be a difficult child and a child who struggled, because I was one of those children. So thus, I walked into this world not understanding what was going to happen, not understanding how many children that I would connect to, how many children I would inspire, but I dedicated my life to empowering children to be better, because I wanted to make the world a better place, because they told me that I wasn't going to make it. They said I'd be in prison. They said that I'd be dead. So I said, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to get angry. I'm just going to continue to inspire. And so I started going all around the country, working with kids, inspiring kids, all types of kids, black kids, white kids, kids with IEPs, you name it, I've done it. Working with all kids from rural areas. But what I love most about the children is that they give me permission to keep pushing. As I look at your organization, I know that all of you that are under the sound of my voice today, whether you're a classroom teacher, food service, transportation, clerical, whatever capacity, you're here to empower children to be better. And so I came across this quote as I started to wrap up here. I said this. Well, let me do this. Highly successful organizations pride themselves on being what I call purpose-driven. And it says this. It says purpose is not just a crucial differentiator. It is the strategic structure that pulls companies, or through what it is we do, through the worst of times. Companies should determine their purpose, a definitive statement about the difference you are trying to make in the world, and then craft their leadership, management, operational strategies, and tactics to further that purpose. Furthermore, a purpose-based approach simplifies many difficult decisions and makes an uncertain future easier to navigate. When the ash is clear from this economic Armageddon, or from this COVID Armageddon, the only organizations left standing will be the ones that actually stand for something. Without a purpose that improves people's lives and contributes to the greater good, organizations will struggle. Wall Street Journal, Roy M. Spence in his book, it's not what you sell, it's what you stand for. And the reason that, let me go back, I'm sorry about that. The reason I wanted to kind of come to this is because when I look at what it is you do, the essence of what it is you do, the sacrifice that you make every single day, you understand that the purpose of what it is you do is greater than any obstacle. Now, I don't remember word for word, but there was a gentleman that was on the video talking about how you've continued to serve food to the children when other people are trying to figure it out. Somehow you guys figured a way to get it done, because you're not one of those organizations that says, you know what, we don't know what to do. But if you don't know what to do, you guys find a way to figure it out. That is called resiliency. That is called being a champion. That is called understanding your reason for being. And that's an amazing thing. And I benefited from that. Millions of children benefit from that. And as those children experience the Head Start experience, and it gets into the emotional DNA of their being, they're able to then transfer that information and that love and that feeling to other people. That's what it's all about. It's about setting the greatest example for our children. And I'm telling you, you have a unique way of doing that. And so if you doubt yourself, I'm asking you, no, I'm begging you, never doubt what it is you do, because you are amazing. You are amazing. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start winding down just a little bit for time's sake. But I want you to understand this, that you weren't hired to maintain the status quo. You were hired to make a difference and make an impact. Don't ever, ever forget that. And the last thing that I'll kind of talk about here today, or should I say share with you, is this. I'm nothing special. I'm really not. And I know that there are people that are on this simulcast right now who know me. Don't know who you are, but you know me, because I've heard that there are people who know me. But anybody who knows me knows that I'm not perfect. And I'm nothing special. I just got lucky and so blessed to have people like you in my life that shifted my life to a whole state of consciousness. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not supposed to be here, but here I am. So all the people who said you'll never be anything, all the people who said, oh, because of your skin color, oh, you grew up in the hood, your real daddy didn't, all these negative armchair theoreticians who said that kids like me can't make it. And there are those out there who believe that the children that we serve, oh, Head Start kids, they're not, oh, those kids are low poverty. All the things that people say, but yeah, we do it anyway because we understand the greatest sense of purpose behind what it is that we do. Never forget the purpose. It's powerful. It's powerful. Last year, May 15th, I get a call from Miss Ritchie's daughter. And I get this call and she says, Mark Anthony, I said, hey, how's it going? She says, hey, you have a minute? I said, sure. She says, can you sit down for a minute? I said, sure. So I sat down and I said, how's the Queen doing? Speaking of Miss Ritchie, she says, that's the reason I'm calling. The Queen is not doing so well, Mark. She's in hospice now. I sat there for a minute and I said, Jane, tell me, what did you just say? She said, Mama's in hospice. You need to get here as soon as you can. I said, okay. And I said, I'll get there as soon as I can. So we hung up after we talked for a little bit. That was on May 15th. I couldn't go to 16th. I couldn't go to 17th. And I had something on the 18th that I had to do, but something told me, cancel it, get to Yellow Springs, get to the rest facility, get there as quick as you can. And so I talked to my wife and I canceled everything and I drove up, not knowing what I'm going to expect when I get there. But I get up here, I get up to Yellow Springs, and I walk into the facility and all three of her kids are there, her two daughters and her son. And Jean meets me and she says, you want to come in and see Mom? I says, yes. So I walk in and there she is, laying there in a semi-coma, as small as you could, smallest thing I've ever seen, just kind of dwindled down to almost nothing. And there I am standing. There I'm standing with this woman, right? That shifted my whole life. I'm trying to figure out, what do you say to a woman that changed everything? What do you say to a teacher that dedicated her life, who didn't start teaching until she was 40, because she was a missionary before that, who changed your whole life? What do you say? I grabbed her hand, I went down, I got close to her, and I started whispering to her. I said, Miss Ritchie, I said, it's Mark Anthony. I said, I love you. And I says, I'm here and I want to come and see you. Thank you for everything. I just poured my heart out to this woman as I whispered in her ear how much she meant to me, how she shifted my whole life. And I said, Miss Ritchie, I love you. I can't be Ritchie right now, but I promise you, I'll see you again. Safe travels home. I kissed her on her forehead and I was done. I had to walk out the room. Tears were coming down and I walked out. 5 minutes later, her daughter comes out and says, it's about that time, Mark Anthony. You ready? And I said, no, but I'm good. I'll be ready for her. So we walk back in and everybody's saying their goodbyes, you know, and I'm the last person and said, Mark, going up. So I go up again and I get kind of close to her and everybody's in the room. So I grab her hand. I said, Miss Ritchie, it's Mark Anthony again. I says, I love you. I love you more than you'll ever know. I love you. I love you. I love you. And thank you. I went down and I hugged her ever so gently and I kissed her again and the tears were coming and everybody in the room was just done, right? So I'm standing there and I see her chest go up. It goes up. It goes down. It goes up. It goes down. Then it goes up. That was it. And as I stood there watching this woman who shifted my life, her daughter Jean was beside herself. She's crying frantically, right? And she says to me, as she looks in my eyes, she says, Mark Anthony, she says, I want you to understand something. She says, you changed everything. You changed everything. I says, what do you mean? I didn't change anything. She changed my life. She says, you don't understand. I told mommy that you were coming. I told mommy just yesterday, I said, mommy, I don't know when Mark Anthony's coming, but he's coming. I promise you, mommy, I promise you. And as sure as I'm talking to you today, ladies and gentlemen, she looked in my face and she says, mommy waited for you. She waited for you, Mark Anthony. What do you say to that, right? At the beginning of my young life, even though I was 8 years old, at the beginning of my life, she was there for me. And at her last days, we were connected again. It was the connection. That's the only thing that brought me back. It was the connection. And I vowed on that day that she transpired from this life to the next, that for the rest of my life, I would honor her. For the rest of my life, I would earn this thing called life. That I would earn the right to inhale and exhale from this day until the day that I die because she gave me permission to breathe. And I will say this to you as we conclude this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sorry about being a crybaby, but it is what it is. Listen, that was my girl. Oh man, this woman right here just shifted everything. And I say this to you, and I want to share that story, not to sadden you, but to let you know that you have the power to shift lives. You have the power to help children reach their apex. You have the power to help families, to change the environments, to help families to reach their goals and dreams, thus in your mission and vision statement. How powerful is that? You are amazing. And I'll say this as I conclude. I want you to do something today that your future self will thank you for. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. And I'm going to ask you to do this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to ask you to push just a little harder. I'm going to ask you to take this coronavirus that we're under right now and use it as a stepping stone to reach more families. If you got to call them, if you got to drive by with a mask on, just do a mask buy or whatever you want to do. I don't care what you do, but continue to connect with the children that you've been given the blessing to serve. And if you do that, I promise you that we will continue to save lives. We will continue to enhance lives. We'll continue to help families become bigger and better. And more importantly, we will make the world a better place. And I'm going to conclude like this. You are amazing in everything that you do. I love you. I encourage you. And understand that in this family that we have, this is your kingdom. Let nothing from the outside come in to destroy it. And let nothing from the inside implode it. Okay? Push forward. Continue to move mountains, and I guarantee that we'll save children's lives, one life at a time. And as Miss Richie did for us, I'm going to do this for you. And if you're watching me right now, if you are a male, you are a king. And if you are a female, you are a queen. And I conclude by bowing before royalty. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this has touched your spirit. And so thank you so much. And that concludes my presentation. God bless you. And I wish you nothing but the best. God bless. All right, that concludes my presentation. So who's next? Take it away. Thank you, guys.
Wow, Mark Anthony. So how do you follow that? You're crying, I'm crying. I think that there's many of us crying. We're so inspired by your message. We needed this. We needed this today. I am so glad you were able to join us. I'm sorry that we couldn't do it in person. But you are going to come back. You're going to come back to MVCDC. We're going to be on the other side of this, and we'll be together physically. And yes, you even though we've not been able to be physically together, you know, your essence, your story, your inspiration has really come through. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for your powerful message. The best is yet to come. Yes, we're getting to the other side of this, and the best is yet to come. We are different makers. We are lifesavers, I think is what you said. Yeah, beyond different makers. And we should never underestimate our power, our influence, and how we have, you know, the power to change children's lives, one child at a time, families' lives, one family at a time, and how we touch each other as well, and impact and influence each other. So thank you for being with us. I don't know if you wanted to take some questions. I know that we're getting a little bit.
More than willing to take questions. Absolutely.
Okay. So I don't know if there's anybody that has we can take a couple of questions for Mark Anthony. I know that some of you have chatted and have commented about how you wanted to share this message from Mark, you know, share it with others. I do want to say that the entire webinar is being recorded. So we will have access to the entire webinar, including Mark Anthony's messages, the beautiful voices that have been part of our day. Madonna and Shelly, your voice is amazing. Thank you for sharing your gifts. Sean and John, thank you for your messages as well. So I don't know if there are any questions that anybody would like to ask Mark Anthony before he leaves, and so I can take a deep breath and stop crying.
No one has shared any questions in the Q&A for Mark. I think they're just caught up in the testimony, the inspiration of Mark's presentation.
Okay. So what do you say after this? I don't know. You say thank you. You say we're so blessed. I'm so glad we did this. I am so glad that we didn't give up, that we didn't say, hey, this is too hard. We can't do this. This is different. We said, yes, we are going to figure it out, and we're going to make it. We're going to make it happen. It took a lot of people from behind the scenes that are, you know, help with the flow of the day. Robert, wow, your power, your energy. Thank you for facilitating the, you know, the day and the transitions to bring in some smile and some laughters. It's been a great day. It's been just wonderful. I know that some of you had some questions about our return and what that's going to look like, especially as we just learned yesterday that childcare can open as of June the 1st. We heard the news just at the same time as you did. So we've been speculating and coming up with scenarios and with plans for our coming back. The classrooms have been empty. We missed the laughter of the kids in our classrooms. I know that the kids miss you, and I know that you miss them as well. So now that we know we have a date and we know when, we will begin to put plans in place. We are going to make sure that whatever we do, we will do it in a safe way. We will put in place, practices that do not jeopardize the safety of staff, of families, and with children. So we're going to take our time. We're going to figure it out. We're starting on Monday. We've had several, plans in the works. So stay tuned, and more to come, more details to come as to our coming back. So for some of you, today is the last day. You are kicking off your summer break, so we wish you well. We wish you a wonderful summer. Have a great summer. We will be in touch, especially as we look at the summer Head Start program. We're going to need some of you to come in and help provide that summer Head Start experience. And then the rest of you, again, stay tuned. We will see you soon. We will stay in touch. Enjoy your weekend. And we have a little something. Oops, this didn't go. Yeah, a little message from our executive team. Dawn, our Chief Financial Officer, that's me with a sign hanging. Keep your sparkle day. Thank you. We are difference makers, and the best is to come. One more little fun thing, I think. Robert, do you want to say anything?
Just thank you very much for providing me this opportunity, and for everybody at home. Just stay safe, stay kind, and stay home sometimes. We're allowed to go out a little bit now. So thank you very much.
All right. So one little fun video clip that Travis is going to pull up for us, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Mark Anthony.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark Anthony. Fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We're hanging on. Yeah, we don't want to leave, right? It's been such a great day. Thank you so much. Wow, we did it. Yes, it worked.